Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of the show, Trek Wednesday. Stardate 2016.139 at 22:01 Eastern Standard Time. We are joined tonight here, not by Tyronius Tex from somewhere over in deep dark side of Texas. No, but this is Zeronius Rex, the producer over at Cryptic Studios. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight, Zeronius.
Thank you.
And
Super
we have
fun to
our
be here.
we appreciate you coming out here and taking the time to do so. We have our usual panel here, starting out with our Chief Intelligence Officer, Captain Sarcasm Detector.
Greetings and welcome to the show, showers. I'm so happy to have you here with us tonight with our special guest. We have a very exciting episode for you tonight.
I don't think I could ever get used to that.
I
Never.
can't.
I'm really sorry for prescribing Cam all those drugs, guys.
It's just so different.
You know, we will definitely have to blame our chief ironic medic, Captain MK. When we said we needed him to be a little bit more peppy, we didn't expect you to do this much, man. Really, dial it back a couple notches.
Dark Eddie in chat just asked who that was. Like, not even recognizable.
No, we're not going to dial anything back. I like those hypos. I need those hypos.
Well, after we're done with that type of immersion, we'll go to our Chief Emergency Role-Playing Hologram and Chief of Immersion Tactics right here, Zeph from Zeph Films.
What's up?
He's happy too.
I am. Maria's
Good.
here. This is
Good.
awesome.
I know.
I know.
You know, yeah. We'll get to this here. We'll get to this here for a minute. Our Chief of Cheesy Tactics and somebody who definitely wants to see PvP make a comeback, so we can cheese all over the place, Captain SOB.
Hello.
That's normal. That's normalcy right there. I can get used to that. You know, that's okay. We expect this. This is good. Oh, by the way, Maria, I was told by one Darth Proteus that he will make as many Mickey or Minnie Mouse sounds as you care to laugh at. So he'll probably join us a little bit later on tonight.
Sounds like a plan.
Exactly. So, jumping straight into it, obviously we have Maria from Cryptic Studios here, who is the producer of Cryptic Studios. She's going to go into a little bit on that later on. But first, Sarcasm is going to lead off with a couple of other questions here. So, Chief Intelligence Officer, begin the interrogation.
Oh boy. All right, well, welcome to the show, Maria. Nice to have you on finally.
Oh, nice to be here.
So, I've actually discovered something about you, and it's a secret that probably not a lot of the listeners, people who play STO, know about. And I'm about to spoil it for everyone. The truth is, despite working for Cryptic, you're actually a human being.
Oh, God. No, I can't confirm that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just going by the information that's on the forums and everywhere else, you wouldn't think so, but ironically, apparently you are.
As are we all.
So, all right, so being that you're a human being, could you tell us just very briefly, in about one or two sentences, something about yourself?
Okay. They may be long sentences.
That's
So, I was born in a little farmhouse on a wheat plantation, and no, I'm just kidding. That's a lie. Anyway, let's see. I'm short. I have pink hair. I like to read and bake, and make my own clothing and knit and put together puzzles and play video games. And I'm the oldest of 7. And my favorite color is blue.
Interesting. So let's focus on the games here, and we'll just leave STO aside. That's a little bit further down in the episode. But you do play quite a few different video games on different platforms, I assume. Do you just play on PC, or do you have like an Xbox or?
No, I actually have my newest that I own is a 360, but my roommate has both a PS4 and an Xbone. I actually, it's funny, I've always considered myself a console gamer because, it starts with the NES, and I at one point have owned almost every console. Uh, at least the big ones. I didn't have a Sega Saturn, but then who did? I think that's part of their problem. But um, yeah, no, I've been playing on consoles for basically as much of my life as I can remember. It started with the original Sega system, which is now called the Sega Master System because then the Sega just became Genesis and that whole thing. And anyway,
Oh my god.
Speaking about old games, favorite retro game?
well, what defines retro? I mean, are we talking like, 8-bit or because I mean by today's standards, Myst could be retro, and I hardly think of that as retro. But
All right.
I'd say favorite game of all time, Tetris.
Okay, good enough. I was gonna qualify that by saying something from when you were a teenager.
I couldn't. I mean, here's the deal. I'm not answering that. Then you know how old I am. Hello.
Okay.
It's okay.
fine.
It's okay. He already has that information.
So you not only play the games, you actually do a semi-regular stream as well. I think
Yeah.
you regularly every Sunday and sometimes during the week.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
the standard weekly is Sundays, and then sometimes if I'm just feeling like whatever, kind of like if I'm feeling like I don't want to be alone but I want to play games, I'll do a stream in the middle of the week. Um, but that can't be counted on.
Okay. So you occasionally play Star Trek Online on those streams as well. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah, a little less recently because well, for one, I don't want people to expect that I'm gonna be like doing a lot of work related stuff because it is work related for me sometimes. Um, but also, I've been playing so much at work with the lead up to Agents of Yesterday that it's just like when I get home, I'm a little Star Trekked out.
Wow, you guys heard it there. She can get actually Star Trek'd out. Who would have thought? I mean, it just blows my mind that you can get too much of Star Trek Online. But
Yeah.
I do remember that a lot of the times when you have been playing Star Trek Online on your stream, it's been mostly Foundry missions.
Yeah, almost entirely. I like to feature. I mean, everybody's played theoretically are the episodes that we make, but so what's more interesting to me are the episodes that we didn't make, and also our episodes are usually voiced, and I really prefer doing the voices myself, and occasionally having guest voices who do like the best Saurian you would ever hear.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Not
So
at
yeah,
all.
you do actually make it quite a bit interesting, more interesting than you would just play through the missions itself. And speaking about voices, I just have to interrupt here the interview for just a second because I did get a question from Reddit chat from Palma. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
them. So the question was, are there going to be any free EPO friends tonight?
We'll see. We'll see how this goes. It's still early times yet, you know.
Okay.
Only if you do really well in the dance competition.
Get out on the floor.
So
You haunt my dreams.
I think they're nightmares.
going on, you also play other games on your stream.
Yeah, I do.
Could
I've
you
been
name
playing a lot of Black Desert Online. I think it's it's interesting. I haven't played any of the other modern MMOs, and so everybody thought. Apparently, it's really unlike other MMOs, but heck, I don't know that. I just play STO and other Cryptic games, and then Black Desert, and it's pretty fun. Very different. And then I've been playing mostly. I feel like lately I've been mostly playing Life is Strange, which is also really fun. It's part like I'd say point and click adventures are one of my favorite genres, and it's kind of along those lines.
Life is Strange. That actually, didn't that win an award not too long back?
Probably. I mean, it was really good. Hey, there it is.
Yeah, we actually have it playing a little bit on the screen there. So, actually, could you tell us a little bit about the game?
Well, the idea is that you're one day somehow she discovers that she can like manipulate time, and she's having weird dreams that are somewhat apocalyptic, and she's a high schooler at this fairly pretentious art high school. And I don't want to really spoil anything, but it's about her dealing with partly like being a teenager in high school and some of the more standard experiences that you'd have in that situation, and then also this possibly apocalyptic thing. This event.
So, would you actually recommend this game?
Oh, highly. Yeah, I think it's really phenomenal. It's I will say this. The caveat being you have to like games that are mostly storytelling and just like clicking. Or actually it really plays very well with the controllers, which is what I've been doing. So if you like story-driven games, which I'm guessing you do if you're playing STO, then I think it'd be really great. Or if you've played I mean, it's not really like the game Braid, but it has a similar sort of time mechanic. Kind of like that. I don't know.
Is there, like, all right, I'm going to channel Spencer here and ask, is there any nuclear weapons? Can you do DPS in the game?
No. Well, not unless that happens later. But as of yet, no. You mostly walk around and talk to people and get a little angsty. And then, like, ugh, people don't understand you, and then there's this whole clique who thinks they're so cool, whatever, you don't want to be part of their group anyway. That kind of game.
Okay, you just did a very good job at turning me off from the game.
Well, fair, but it is really well done. I mean, it's not going to be for everyone, certainly, but you know, if you tune in and let me know, you can see it. I'll show you.
I think I did watch one of your streams while you were playing that. That was maybe a month back or so. Now I've noticed that you've also been playing another game quite a bit recently. One of the Lego games.
Yeah, those are like maybe my favorite. I shouldn't say that. I have so many favorites and they rotate, but I really love the Lego games. They're so much fun. I've been playing right now Lego Lord of the Rings, and it's pretty great. My favorite so far was probably the first ones, which was the Lego Star Wars ones. And then I think after that, probably Lego Harry Potter. The mechanics in that one were really fun. And then I think, Lego Pirates of the Caribbean was great. Basically, they're just so fun. You go around and you smash stuff, and it turns into little pieces, and you pick up the pieces, and they're like currency, and you can like, anyway. Oh, this says, will I play Jurassic Park? Yes. It's on my list.
All right, I look forward to that. Is that going to be the next stream or?
No, I don't own that one yet. Come on, ain't nobody got time for that.
Okay. So, could you give us a hint what the actual next stream will be then?
You know what? I never really know. It's kind of like, what do I feel like in the mood for? I'm still trying to get some kind of interactive thing going on, whether it's like Remember, I don't know if you were there when we were playing Cards Against Humanity that one time. That was pretty fun.
Yes, I was there. I remember.
Yeah, I thought you were there. But I've been feeling kind of like this weird, I don't want to say malaise, but I've been jumping from game to game kind of a bit. I think, one of those types of years, perhaps. It's really hot here, and I think that just makes me like not want to do anything.
I'm still trying to get you to play Ark with me. I mean, there's
Yeah,
nothing
well,
more.
hey, I mean, maybe it could be that.
I have dragons and a fairy tale castle on my server.
Okay, we should discuss
Aha.
this. Let's see if we
We
can work
should, we
something
should.
out.
All right, I think that's pretty much it for my end of the interview. And hopefully the listeners out there, people watching, have gotten to know you a little bit better. And you're no longer the abusive, misery, suffering, causing, cryptic persona.
Hey.
Those are not my words. I heard them on another podcast.
Really? Oh, that's amazing.
But I won't get into that. That's we'll leave that alone for now. Alan has some extra questions for you, actually. Take it away. Save me, Alan, please.
I think basically, Alan, he's just saying that those are your words.
No. I heard these words for myself, but that's a conversation for another day and not on live
For
stream.
yourself, from him. Just kidding.
But on the topic of Ark, if you want to play a real game, you could come play Minecraft with us. There's a lot of us playing.
Nah, it's just not my kind of game. It's just like, honestly, I have the same problem with Ark. It's like I need rules and structure.
That's a funny way to pronounce diggy diggy hole, Alan.
Diggy diggy hole, yeah. But I'm going to go back to one other personal thing. You mentioned you had Sega Master System.
Heck yeah.
Did you ever play Alex the Kid in Miracle World?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. And then that's the one where you had there were like 7 princesses in the castle at one point. And you had to figure out which like room they were in or something like that.
Yeah.
My friend had the 3D glasses for that thing, and they were like $200 in the early 80s, but I remember using them.
Yeah.
That game was hard.
It was, especially, I mean, depends on how old you were when you were playing it. I, of course, was basically an infant back then. So.
Yeah, the Master System was my dad's, and he actually still has it, and it still works to this day.
They still make it and sell it in Brazil.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, you got a promotion, what, 2-3 months ago?
Yeah, I don't remember.
You don't remember.
Basically, these things are kind of fluid. At Cryptic, it's very much like you do the work, and then they're like, oh, hey, I guess you're doing this. We should give you the title. So, and then plus you have me going, hey, when am I going to get my promotion? Because I do that. Because, true story, women in general don't do that enough. You gotta fight for your right to party, and by which I mean get more money and a bit better title. So
that's kind of what we're all after, is more money. But with more money comes with more problems. But with your new promotion, I guess, producer, what kind of responsibilities comes with that roles? Like, did you get, well, okay, I'm not asking if you get your more money, but with more money comes more problems. So did you get more stuff that you have to do with this role, or like what's your day-to-day now as a producer?
Yeah, I would say actually, so with basically Steve Ricosa, Salami Inferno, has been my boss for ages now, right? And we keep like moving up. He moves up a little bit before me, but then so he moved up to executive producer, leaving the lead producer role empty. So theoretically, there's no lead producer on Star Trek Online. You can imagine that, in effect, I kind of have to act as the lead producer. So it's a lot of like overseeing the scheduling for everything, which I did most of before, but now it's officially my responsibility. And so I oversee the schedule for my specific teams, which is all the teams except for ship art and character art. So the systems team, the content team, the environment team, so on and so forth. And then I'm also in charge of seeing features from inception to conclusion. So if we are going to do, for instance, an episode, a featured episode, that would be a feature. I would have, I'd have to be there from day one and make sure that I kind of owned the vision and helped it reach its conclusion and be shippable and that sort of thing. And then with this last bit is I was involved from almost day one with Agents of Yesterday, and that has been and continues to be crazy in a great way, but also in a boy could I use a vacation kind of way.
Oh, I bet. So this you mentioned environment, the environment team. Does that mean you're Taco's boss?
Well, I mean, it's I don't know how much anybody knows about management strategies, but there's kind of two types that we've used at Cryptic. There's hierarchical, which is what you would imagine. You've got the say president, then vice presidents, and then managers and anyway, all the way down. And they're the real bosses at Cryptic in that they would be the ones that give you your annual review and that sort of thing. And in that sense, no, I'm not his boss. Samuel is Swall on Swall Art, I think, on Twitter. And but we also have what I would say they call matrix style management, where you have your boss, your manager that does reviews, but you kind of have another one that is it could be department head. So maybe there's an art director who is also in charge of all the artists. Well, we use that as the producers everybody's beholden to us when it comes to scheduling, right? So if anybody's days or weeks behind, they are going to have a very unhappy producer, because that is our thing to be unhappy about, if you will.
Oh, you see. Okay, yeah.
Do you have a stick?
Oh, I don't need one.
No.
You don't get angry, just disappointed.
That's even
that's
worse.
the worst. So you mentioned Agents of Yesterday, which is up to now has been the biggest reveal this year.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned in a tweet either last week or the week before that you and your team had been working on this for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Scheduling stuff aside, what else have you had your hand in Agents of Yesterday that we have seen?
Well, I'd say the scheduling, and then other than that, in some ways it's production doesn't do concrete work that you can point to as a discipline, right? But very much I'm part of the process from even when we're sitting in the conference rooms discussing okay, well, we're going to do, we know you had to understand how excited I was about this because the original series is my favorite. We knew for the 50th anniversary we really wanted to do something that involved the original series, and I don't think we knew exactly what yet. When we started talking about the tutorial, for instance, and we wanted to say, let's go back to a place we've been before that we saw, if you will, in the original series, and the discussions we had about which episode that we would kind of use as our jumping off point was a heated debate.
Oh, I can imagine, because each person there has their own kind of what is the best of TOS, and yeah, I ought to be a fly in the wall for that conversation.
Yeah, well, and you have Samuel and I, both of us like it the best of all the series, and Al, he likes all of Trek, but that one's definitely not his favorite. And then you have Salami Inferno, who had actually seen pretty few original series episodes before we started on it. Obviously, he's watched quite a number since then. I don't know if we've seen all of them yet, but I mean, come on, there's a few that are probably skippable.
Now, feeding from that question about anything that you've had your hand in, is there something that hasn't really been released to Tribble that you've had your hand in that you can comment on?
I mean, not so much. I can say there's a lot of stuff that hasn't gone out to Tribble yet that is, I think, really awesome. I actually think my favorite of our new things, I think, goes to Tribble this week.
Ooh.
So I could be wrong about this. I have to like really try and remember, but I think it goes out this week. So it's exciting. And honestly, the whole story itself, I feel like I had a hand in helping with that, right? It's never any one person, but I'm pretty passionate about the original series and kind of I saw somebody say in the chat that I was in charge of saying that's not TOS enough or whatever. The number of times I have said like that's not TOS, guys, is like I think they would like to backhand me in meetings sometimes.
I would like to follow up a little bit here. You're talking about TOS, and we get it that this expansion is going to be very focused on the original series. What I'm wondering about, and I'm guessing there might be other people wondering, is there going to be any influence from the animated series?
Oh, well, no, I mean, it's not the 50th anniversary of the animated series.
It's pretty close, though.
Sure, in close counts and thermonuclear warfare and hand grenades, but not in anything else.
I think that's close enough.
Yeah, no, basically you have to draw the line somewhere, and that is where we drew it. Is the original series. As for like what qualifies in that, we've had discussions. We talked about originally, like, do we include things that were seen in the motion picture or things that were seen in the animated series, and ultimately, for the most part, no, we didn't. And it's tough. I think partly we looked at like Cations, for instance, right? I think trying to capture the way the Cations looked on the animated series would not work. And we felt like we don't want to show the 2409 STO Cations or the J.J. Abrams, Playboy Bunny style Cations from the movies, right? If we put the Cations in, we'd want them to look like they did back then, and I don't know that that's really possible. Like our champions would be able to create that kind of Cation in their aesthetic, but I don't think that Star Trek really could.
Would it be like a licensing issue? Because
well, I think that might also be a thing, but I just mean like the art style wouldn't work. Okay. I think it would just look weird.
Yeah, using a cartoon as a point of reference to kind of create something in a 3D world, I guess you could say. It would be really hard to transition that over. I can kind of get what you're getting at there.
Yeah.
There was some complex licensing in animated series too, like the Kazinti stuff, which doesn't really belong to CBS, etc. So there might be some trouble there.
Yeah, it belongs to Larry Niven, I believe, and a few of his collaborators.
Are correct. The Slaver Weapon.
Something in that regards, yeah.
So Not to put your brain into overdrive, because I know that there's still a lot of work to come with Agents of Yesterday. But after this, what expansion would you personally like to see next? Not one that's in the plan, like that's on the table being worked on, like not spoilers, but what would you personally like to see introduced after Agents of Yesterday? Like for me personally, I would love to see an expansion into Cardassian. Going into the Gamma Quadrant, and that.
I think you're not alone on that one. I've heard other people say that. I think there was some disappointment, in fact, that that is not what we're giving you this year, which I understand, right? We all have our favorites.
Yeah, but it also, on the marketing scheme, it also made a lot of sense that it is TOS for the 50th, like the year of the 50th anniversary. So I guess we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for Cardassian. But anyway, what would you like to see next if you could have picked?
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't know. We've done like I never thought we would do anything TOS. So like this, I can't even. I jumped up and down when they told me this, and I like flailed my hands a little bit because I was so excited. So what could we do now that would be really exciting to me? Well, I think something that we probably wouldn't do, but that I would personally like, is to do an expansion that is completely our own and not. I mean, I think you saw the Iconian War story arc. That was like basically all our own, right? They weren't a an alien species that we invented. They were mentioned, but but I think that we made them ours, if you will. I would love to see a whole expansion around that, but I just don't think that's really tough, and I think it would be a hard sell because it's something that definitely isn't canon, and a lot of times that's not what fans of Star Trek want.
Yeah, Trekkies like their stuff Trekkie, and if you introduce something that, like, why would the Federation partner with this species? Like this is not Trek. Like you would probably say, this is not TOS. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get you there, especially from from the point of view of a role player. Like a lot of the role player guilds that are out there, to create their own storyline, they start going into creating their own character, like using the character creator and the Foundry to create their own species from scratch, give it its own unique look. Then they have to give it a character background, a government background, and then they have to create their own stories derived from that. It's a lot of work, and that's only just in like a small like role-playing fleet.
Yeah.
To create something like that to facilitate the masses of the entire Star Trek Online community would just be a huge undertaking. Would be interesting if executed correctly, but yeah, that would be really cool. But yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun, but it'd be tough. And I think it's I from what I know about our players, predominantly they are Star Trek fans first, and Star Trek Online fans second. And so, if we did that, it would be not appealing to their primary interest. So who knows? I don't think we'll do it, but that's my personal love, or maybe like a Deferi expansion. I know everybody loves them.
Yeah.
You'd
Yeah,
have to be
actually,
really neutral.
there's actually a couple of comments in chat that some people have mentioned that they like the Deferi. But yeah, that would be an interesting one as well.
I found out an interesting fact about the Deferi.
Oh.
Today. They were basically an invention of I think it was the very first EP of STO, and because he wanted to move away from like I don't want to say Trek, but from canon, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wanted Star Trek Online to be like its own kind of thing and not really link up with the show as much as we have, right? Like he wouldn't have wanted the original actors, for instance, which
Right.
I thought was fascinating because it's so far from where we are now. But
I just want to make a comment real quick that no matter what you release, people are going to be disappointed. Some people are going to be disappointed.
and some people will love it.
Before it's even out, too. Before it's, hey, guys, we have a great new expansion coming out that won't be out until the summer, and it's going to be sent around TOS. Rabble, rabble, rabble. I hate it. I'm going to go to the STO forums and tell people how much I hate this expansion without even playing it. Am I right?
I mean, I can only imagine.
No, we
Great
I think
hypothetical.
we actually talked about it, that particular issue on last week's show, and
Yeah.
I think all of us were just face palming. I think I can speak for most of us here that we usually hold judgment until we actually get our hands or something or our eyes on something and actually play test it out before we give an opinion about it. But so it just blows our mind that
Revolutionary concept indeed, Cam.
yeah, I know, right?
I thought the Endgame was Space Barbie, but it's apparently bitching on the forums.
I don't think that's safe till Endgame. I will say this. I have to pitch in about this. I have long thought that we're pretty lucky that we have basically the greatest player base that I've experienced ever. And it's not like I took it for granted, but I didn't see how true that was until I went to, for instance, a subreddit for another game that I play. And I was like, oh, yeah, our guys are really awesome. So I think it's pretty great in general. It's
Really,
oh
which
my
game was
gosh,
that?
I'm not gonna say. I'm not
Aw.
gonna say.
So while we were talking about what expansion you'd like to see next, somebody asked a question about DS9, and it actually ties in with the next question, centering around revamps. This is a topic that comes up pretty frequent on whether it be STO or on Twitter or the STO Reddit, and we saw an amazing job by Taco with Earth Space Dock. And that revamp, that's probably one of my favorites, and I was glad to finally do a video on with that in there. But are you able to comment on if there's any plans to revamp any of the existing social zones? For example, Deep Space Nine. Oh my God, my words.
We really do want to hit Deep Space Nine. We actually started on it. And then had to shift gears because, I don't remember what happened. We probably had someone leave the team for some other team, and we just had to like come up with a new game plan or someone. You know what? No, somebody got sick and they missed a bunch of time, so we had to take Tumor Boy again, Taco Fangs. We had to take him and put him on this other thing. So I don't know when we'll get back to finishing that work, but. Oh, definitely. We would love to go through and replace all of the art that we made at launch, basically, because I mean we were on a very tight timeline then. We made, to give you an example of how tight a timeline, I think we were making episodes like say something like well, not Pajem, that one actually. Researcher Rescue, that kind of thing. We were doing that in say 3 days a week, and now we give something along on that scale 6 weeks. So we can obviously do things better now. So we want to go back and hit all of the kind of yucky looking stuff, and I think we will. It's just a question of time. I'm sure that there's there's that when we do as the Starbase turns expansion, we'll get around to that.
There's quite a few social zones that really desperately need a fixing. I mean, yeah. So ESD was good. Yeah, DS9. Apart from ESD, yeah, there's DS9, K7. Heck,
Yeah.
even the Klingon First City, I think, could
I love
use.
First City. I really think the problem is it's like, where's that place again? That kind of thing with it. I just think it looks amazing still, but.
So I have a little something shameful to admit here. So you know that social zone video I did with ESD, New Romulus, and Klingon?
Mm-hmm.
And there's the scene of Klingon Academy. That was my first time ever at Klingon Academy. And I beamed down, and there's the giant statue. I'm like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Like, wow. I don't play Klingon.
Well, nobody does. I'm sure there are reasons. I actually have a Klingon that I was playing. When we launched Legacy of Romulus, that expansion, we were required to play to a certain level as a Romulan, and I played as a Klingon instead because I just really wanted to. And Samuel, actually, our lead artist, his main character is Klingon. He's a real tall Gorn, which is pretty funny because I'm like a pretty short alien usually, and anyway, it's kind of like real life. But
well, that's a good point that you bring up. So, percentage-wise, of the devs that play this game, how many of them will play Fed, Romulan, or Klingon? Is it the same percentages as the player base, for example?
I would guess that probably about that, yeah. I think in general, we have more people playing Feds for sure. I think in part for the same reason that the game X-Wing was kind of more popular than TIE Fighter, I think, right? Like, people want to play as the quote-unquote good guys. Now, I don't think Klingons are bad, but they're not quite as much the good guys as, like, the Federation, if you will, at least on the shows. So I think that's that. But we have, I know, like I said, Samuel, his main is a Klingon, and the designer who did Midnight, his main is a Klingon, and I think there's a couple other guys who, if their main isn't, I know they have a frequently played alt that is. So we're out there.
Design it, they will come.
Design it, they will come. All right,
hold
on.
People say that, and it has proven to be untrue.
So, all right, my next follow-up here is just speculation-wise. What do you think you guys should do or would do that would actually improve the Klingon, specifically the Klingon and the Romulan player base expanded? Is there anything you think that could be done to get players more playing those roles than just rolling a Federation character?
Well, are you asking me as a player of Star Trek Online, or are you asking me as somebody who knows what a realistic development cycle looks like?
Why not both?
As a player, I'm sure just, get a episode parity, right? Have their own whole arc that's just about them. As a producer, that would take so long as to be just unviable, because if we spend a lot of time doing that, and we're talking like, I think it would be a half a year's worth of work, probably, maybe more. That would be a half a year in which nothing else was happening for anybody. So nobody else would get any kind of knew anything. And ultimately speaking, I think that is negative for everyone. I mean, that is why with the new things we are making, there are more than one of us in the room saying, okay, but that situation's not going to work for a Klingon or a Romulan. How can we make this work for all of them? Or how can we come up with different dialogue options if you're a Klingon or a Romulan? You know, at the very least, so that things will play more in tune with their sort of fiction, if you will, as a species. So that's what we're trying to do to address the disparity there. But ultimately, it's where it is now, and to try and get any kind of parity would be just a Herculean undertaking.
So there's the ideal situation, which would be content parity, of course, and then there's the actual business reality. And come on, let's be honest, it is a business, right? You have limited resources that you have to place in the best place, or the most profitable place, because you basically do have to make a profit, right? You can't
appeal to the masses, more or less.
Well, I mean, I would say I know everybody's least favorite word is metrics, but I think that's because there's some misunderstanding about it. When we refer to metrics, what we are referring to is the data that we can collect and measure and is quantifiable. So we can look at how many different, we could look at, okay, all of the accounts that logged in the last 60 days, how many of them had level 60 character? How many? What was the average level 60 character? What was the min? What was the max? How many of those were Klingon characters? How many of the accounts that logged in have any Klingon characters? And we could look at, for instance, like, okay, we put out all of these ships that go out, right? How many sell percentage-wise based on not overall buyers, but like how many people with Klingon characters bought a Klingon ship, for instance, and the same with Romulan, and the same with Fed, and so we look at that, and that does definitely influence what we're able to do. Now, I mean, that said, if we went solely by the numbers, we would probably never, ever, ever release special ships just for ROMs and Klingons, because it's like, you know, they're just definitely not as popular as the Fed ships. But we don't want to do that, right? That is horrible. So we put the time in anyway and try to try to give something to everyone. And unfortunately, there isn't the parity there that I know a lot of people would really like, but that is, you know, because we have to do what we need to do to keep the lights on, so to speak.
Well, I understand it, and I guess, well, I'm guessing that those with who are mature, who are grown-ups, will understand it. But there are immature people out there who just want their whatever it is, and they want it now. But
well, I wouldn't call that immature. I would just say that it's a skill you have to work at to really look at things from kind of all sides. And I mean, we've all felt like, ugh, why am I not getting that? You know, like my brother, he got worse grades than me. How come he got money from my parents and I didn't? You know, and I'm not, you know, I maybe I'm not looking at it from all sides, like because he had a really bad day or something. I don't know. That's a horrible example.
Isn't that pretty much the definition of maturity, like looking at things?
I mean, maybe. I think it's just really something you have to practice, and you know, some people don't have as much practice with it.
I think in this case, this is customers being customers from a business standpoint.
I mean, we've all been customers. Am I right?
Oh,
If you think about it that way in the service industry, a lot of the bitching, it doesn't make sense, but you expect it.
Well, but it also comes from like kind of a good place, really, in that what people are really telling us is that, like, you know, it's like I like what you have and what you're doing, but you're not meeting my needs. And what they're telling us is, you know, I need you to meet my needs. And sometimes it's not expressed that way, but I think that's generally the crux of it. And I mean, some people could say things in a way that's more conducive to open conversation, but you know, the world isn't a perfect place. Sometimes some of us say things that are upsetting to others.
Yeah, I know that feeling. So I'm sorry, Alan, I've derailed your questions here, but I have a couple of questions in regards to Agents of Yesteryear or Agents of Yesterday, or
Yeah.
sorry, I don't remember the
That's
exact
it.
name here.
Yesterday.
But all right, so you guys published this new pack, or a couple of packs, but the main one, the big one there with that has like a whole number of starships. So we know that there's going to be a TOS faction, and there's a whole bunch of ships, tier 1 to tier 5, that are going to be part of that faction. I guess they're going to be exclusive to that faction.
Hold on, let me look up the data about it. Go on with what you're saying. I'm gonna refresh my memory.
So my question, like, I was just wondering, and so it is a TOS faction, it is a Federation faction, but is it going to be separate totally from the current Federation faction? So would it be possible for my existing Fed Captain to fly those TOS ships if I bought the pack, or I bought those ships singularly, for example? Or are they going to just remain separate?
If they are actually tied to the TOS faction, then no. They are actually for the TOS faction. If you think of them just as you would Feds, Klingons, or Romulans, they're closest to Romulan, is what I would say. But I don't know. I can't remember which ships they are. It's possible that regular, if you will, vanilla Federation players will be able to fly them. And then I know there are some ships that we're putting out.
The tier 6s, I believe.
Yeah, those are definitely for everyone.
Well, there's 5 tier 6. Hold on, not 5. There's
like
actually
4?
6 tier ship 6. So the Temporal Science Vessel, the Nautilus, Temporal Escort, Theseus, Temporal Cruiser Sagittarius, and the Temporal Battle Cruiser or Paladin. Those look like Fed ships. Those look like extensions of.
Yes, those definitely are the Fed ships. And then the temporal ships, the Ouroboros and the
Eternal?
The other one, the multi-mission. Yeah. Those are both definitely for everyone.
So yeah, I'm actually really excited about the Eternal, the multi-mission science vessel. Nuclear vessel. So that looks like it's going to be a Vesta equivalent, a tier 6 Vesta equivalent, and I'm just giddy like a schoolgirl over.
Yeah, I think the Vesta we did call that same class. Multi-mission? Yeah.
Yeah, multi-mission, yeah.
Yeah, we were I think the guys did a really phenomenal job. You know, I don't know if you can tell, inspired by looks-wise, I think inspired by the Wells, from what I remember.
Yes, it does. It's actually more of a mix of all the factions. So there's definitely a little bit of Klingon in there, and there's definitely a little bit of Warbird in there as well.
Oh, and absolutely, the Ouroboros especially. I mean, it's a raider. Definitely, we were looking at. If I'm not mistaken, we're looking at birds of prey, and so there's both. I mean, obviously, the first bird of prey that we saw was Romulan, but Klingons took that term too, and so I think you can see the influences of both of them there.
Could you do you know which of the art guys actually worked on that ship? Actually, who was it that worked on those ships? Let's give him a shout out.
I don't remember. I know that Hector, our concept guy, did the concept for these ships, the temporal ones, but I don't remember which of the ship artists did what. I'll be honest, because I don't schedule them anymore. I oversee all the schedule, but that is done by my cohort. He of the patch note writing, but I mean, with all the ships, it's kind of a team effort, if you will, because the whole team gets together for input phase, and it's possible that these were by our newest ship artist, Mo, but I'd hate to say for sure because I don't want to get it wrong. I mean, if we want to shout out, we just shout out to all of them because they're all freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely shout out. I know I had a conversation with Thomas, I think when the ships came out, and I asked him which ones he had worked on, and he said he had worked on the Constitution, the Daedalus, the Sagittarius, and the Eternal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, mad props to all the ship guys who worked their butts off on those ships.
Yeah. And I think it was Jam Jams that did the new material for the original series stuff.
The
But I could be
Aztecing?
wrong.
The Aztecing?
Yeah,
I was gonna ask about that because Aztecing isn't actually proper for TOS era. That's motion picture era. Back in the TOS era, it was gray thermocoat. So I wonder if we get both materials or not.
we tried to make it look kind of like a plastic model because that's what they were.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So yeah, definitely a shout out for all the guys, all the artists, and just the ship designers, and
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see that. And hey, Klingons, Romulans, you were actually getting a top of the end kick-ass science ship.
Mm-hmm. And, well, I'm not going to get into story spoiler stuff. I could, but I won't.
Aww.
But there are reasons.
Yeah.
Well, all right. How about this? Real quick question though: are we going to see the same type of experience between the two different consoles and the PC game as far as AoY is concerned?
Yeah. I don't think. I could be mistaken. I'm not sure that we're launching with Agents of Yesterday on the console. Excuse me, because of the certification process, there's kind of a delay there. But yes, it's going to basically be the same game with basic different keybinds, obviously, and a different front end UI because you won't have a mouse or a keyboard, probably.
PC Master Race, yo.
Yeah.
I just had to say that.
Yeah, I like my 12 button. Well, 12 thumb button mouse. I will say that.
Oh, sorry for the interruption, Alan. You can go ahead.
Oh, I can. Oh, thank you so much.
I'll apologize too because I'm long-winded.
No, it's all right. This is really it's conversation. That's how conversations happen between groups of people. They just get sidelined. Now I'm trying to remember what it is. Oh, well, you already answered this question, but just so we have it on the record, of all the Star Trek series, which one is your favorite and why?
Well, let me say, the only one that didn't require a subtitle to explain its awesomeness is the original series, as it's now known, because you can't just call it Star Trek. That's confusing to people. Not that I have thoughts about this at all. Why is it my favorite? It's the first one I saw. And as such, it definitely colored my perception of what Star Trek is. To me, it's an action show. Just plain and simple, right? The originals were very much about seeking out new life and seducing or killing it. And I liked that message, So that's it to me. I mean, also, it's funny, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, but There you have it.
Well, that kind of message still carried through with TNG.
TNG was a soap opera.
No, they were exploring and seducing. Thank you to
No.
Riker. Yes.
Look. Did you ever see somebody do a flying double-footed kick at someone? Or clutch their hands together and do an overhand bash on their head? Or the best scene. Hold on, I'm finding this YouTube link, and you guys are gonna show it. There's like.
If it's the mock time scene, I'm out.
It's not a muck time. It's not a muck time.
Da, 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 da.
Yes.
Well, did Kirk ever punch Q?
Well, I don't think Trelane and him ever got in a fight. Really, he didn't have to use his show of force.
Star Trek nerd battle on the show.
One of those rare moments that Kirk didn't use a show of force, mind you. One of those very rare moments.
I would agree.
Probably because he was intimidated.
Yeah, he was a little outclassed. Trelane was a baby Q.
Well, that's what some people have taken that to mean. I found a thing. Hold on.
A thing?
A linky thing. How do I make you see it?
Post it in the chat on the right side, and I will pop it open.
Oh, she might be on beta mode.
I don't have a chat.
Do you have your Gmail open with the Hangout pop-up?
I do!
Paste it there.
I don't, but I'll open it. Wait, with what open? Who knows? I'm sending it to somebody.
Dev's lying to us, confirmed. Dev's lying to us, confirmed. Everyone heard it.
Oh my god.
Hold on, I'm working on this. Okay, here we go.
It's all lies.
Awesomeness
It's all lies and hype.
together. Oh my god, I can't wait. You guys, this is the best moment in Star Trek ever. Ever.
It better not be a Rickroll.
It's not a Rickroll. I wouldn't do that. Come on.
Give me a couple of seconds, and I'll put that on the screen.
I kind of hope it is a Rickroll.
No, it's way better.
Rebecca Black Friday.
It could be a Trollolo, but it's not.
Or it could be better.
You said better, not excruciating, like Alan.
Mushroom.
It's a class.
We were doing the Badger thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that at all.
Wait, somebody said they don't know why people like Voyager. Number one, because it's nice to have a strong female lead. Number two, because aliens.
Dude, exploration. Getting back to basics.
Here we go!
Zero, they really want you to say Chakotay. Just once. They won't shut up until you do.
Okay. There was a scene like this in TNG as well.
Was there? Keep watching.
Oh, snap.
Major, shut that thing off!
So the guys here couldn't actually watch it on the Hangout, so it only played for you guys watching the stream live, but that was actually really, really good.
Yeah, I watched it on the stream. It's like, yeah, this was in TNG, and then oh no, that wasn't acceptable anymore when TNG was around.
Well, you don't know the whole story there unless you've seen it. It was acceptable given the circumstances.
Is it the kissing and the punch?
What? Yeah. Why does everyone want me to say Chakotay? Or, I mean, really, we call him Chakotay?
It's a long story, but a Kuchimoya to you and your kin.
I'm broken.
Are you smacking something or someone?
That's me hitting the pin against the desk. Sorry, Chakotay.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Just want to make sure nobody was dying on the show, that's all.
Well, she said it. Now everyone can shut up.
Oh.
Chakotay.
So now we know why we like TOS.
Yes, sorry.
Nah.
Was that a bit of a rant? My apologies.
No, that was fucking hilarious. I'm a little broken. I'm sorry.
Wait, I have the list of questions. I'm going to read them, and you guys, we shall go.
I'm good. 7. We're on number 7.
No, that was 7. Oh, no, that's right, because we cut one that I said I wouldn't answer. Now
Yeah.
everybody out there is going to wonder what that was.
No, I know. Well, we'll talk about it after. It is something. Anyway, so of all the additions to the game, let's put Agents of Yesterday aside for a second. Which one is your favorite, and which one is your proudest that you had worked on?
Of all of the additions, it's the same answer for both.
Oh, yeah?
The Foundry. The Foundry was my baby, and I was really sad when they took it from me. I was the sole tester for it for the studio, and the original plan was that it would just stay as like separate from either of the games, but we had to do a little restructuring. I think it was around when we were sold, or just before we were sold to Perfect World. I don't even know, but and so the programmers who were working on it went over to Neverwinter, and they took the Foundry with them, and they told me, "Oh no, you're not testing that anymore." And I told people they can take this from me over my cold dead body, but they did take it from me, and I'm still here, which means whatever. But it's my baby still. And so proudest to worked on, absolutely. It was a small team, and we were all passionate, and then also I still work on it in the sense that I'm always adding new things to it whenever I get a spare moment, which has been less frequent lately, but I'm still trying.
Well, sorry. While we're on the topic of Foundry, we're just going to switch to one question ahead because it's still on the topic of Foundry. And my throat's starting to crack. I'm hitting puberty. Yay.
Congratulations.
I know. I think this was actually one of Spencer's questions.
Yes.
And Spencer, I'll let you ask that question so you can kind of explain your thought behind it.
So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on adding in like dreadnought groups and targetable stationary objects into the maps? Like, there's been a few people that have been looking for like transformers, gates, maybe even a Unimatrix to go in and shoot to make custom maps.
Yeah. The tough part is that all of those things are actually we call them critters. They're all actually people under their costumes, if you will, and the only way we get them to work is to have special behaviors that we put on them, if you will, that I don't think are really available in the Foundry. So it's possible I could add a stationary object like a gateway, and then that object would maybe start following you, which would be kind of weird. But it is something I'm trying to look into. I added, maybe I didn't. I have a list of boss encounters, if you will, that I want to add, but most of our actual bosses they work through like heavy finite state machine logic, right? So it's not just like our normal NPC groups have a standard AI built into them, and they just do whatever has been written for that. The bosses ignore whatever standard AI there is and follow this kind of scripted routine. Like a good example is Lita in it's not Counterpoint. Well, the one that came out with Counterpoint, whose name escapes me. The ground one. So it's tough to get those in because you'd have to find like I'd essentially have to make a new thing just for the Foundry, and I don't know how to do that yet personally. Working on it, but I mean, there's a few that we've talked about adding that I'm looking into, but destructible objects is definitely one of them. So I'll say I would love to do that, and I am investigating the feasibility of it.
It was Assault on Terragnor, by the way.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
How's your
Oh,
voice, Alan?
I'm good. It was just getting really dry, so I took a sip of something. I'm good. All right. So this question is a topic of conversation with a lot of players. Number 8 on your sheet, lag. And it's been a topic of concern for a lot of people. Obviously, very passionate about the game for, I'm going to say, a little bit over a year. I think since maybe Delta Rising. Is there anything that you can communicate to the player base of like what's being done to kind of figure out what's causing the lag and fix it? Because I know that there was something going on before with somebody from Perfect World who said that they were going to go down the office and investigate, and then it kind of just nothing really came of it.
Yeah.
And there's players are understandably upset, and there's a lot of questions. So I guess what can you tell us that is happening on the back end of trying to solve the lag mystery?
This is a good question. I think first we should say that it's more than just lag. So a lot of people will conflate FPS and other performance issues with lag. That has actually been part of the issue in tracking things down. So people will say they're experiencing lag, and it's actually that they're having FPS drops. And that may seem like splitting hairs, but it actually points to different systems possibly being at fault. So I know that we, for instance, have been getting reports of really heinous FPS on Ryza. So we have looked into that and discovered that something happened with one of the grasses we used, and it had like a bajillion more triangles than it should have. And so we adjusted that, and it's like a bajillion times better now. I don't know that that has gone out to Holodeck yet. This is just in internal testing. And then so there are those kinds of issues. I know recently we identified a problem that with higher end AMD processors that we weren't making, something was going wrong with their hyperthreading, if I recall, and we put out a thing to address that issue, which I think has helped. And then there's part of what we have seen happen is that our game is 6 years old now, and the min spec when it came out was for a video card that is now over 10 years old. And we haven't updated our min spec, and so people who have been playing, we do have people playing below min spec and on the lower end of things. And unfortunately, we have to update our engine, our graphics, to work with newer drivers, which sometimes causes problems with the older drivers and the older video cards. So that's part of it, as far as like graphical issues that people have that they'll call lag. And then there are I will say like the server lag. And we've had a few things that we've been fighting with there. We made some changes to our network and the way it's set up in our data center that definitely helped with some of it. And we've been trying to look into, our load balancing and making sure that that is all set up correctly with network engineers. And that's really all that Perfect World would handle for us in this regard, right? Because they, if you will, own that part of the operations. Everything else, I mean, there's really not much Perfect World could do other than get us information because, they are, by and large, just marketing and customer service, not,
Right.
Engineers or... So there's that. And we are looking into, I mean, I know people probably remember the great, huge list of powers that we edited after we determined there were performance problems. And I know we saw a huge improvement when we did that. We're still working on things like that. We've identified another, I think people may have seen a tweet by Bordicus saying that we think we've made a huge discovery in what could be causing performance issues, and we are looking into that now actively. Like, you have to understand, it's awful for us too when we have server performance problems, because we will see the effects of it in our metrics, dirty word again, as in we can't have as many people playing, and that's not good for us. So I mean, we are actively working on this always. It's just, it's not like there is one source of it, one cause, and so it is like a multi-tiered approach. So in general, it will get incrementally better, and frequently in such a way that you won't really be able to notice unless you can go back and like, you ever have the epiphany that it's like, oh wow, like when I have a headache, for instance, I don't notice that it's gone. Like when it's leaving, I notice like, oh, hey, my head's not hurting anymore, and that's kind of what we see with lag. It's like this sudden realization that things aren't as sucky.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I promise you, we are working on it actively. We actually have one of our programmers was scheduled to lend some time helping out the console effort, and he's kind of had to delay by about a week so that he could continue working on this server stuff right now.
Awesome. One person, Dark Eddie, just asked if there's anything that we can do to help.
Well, I would say the biggest help is, if you're reporting an issue, be precise. Say if you notice that you're having poor performance, like your CPU is really heavily taxed, or you feel like your memory usage is insane, say that. If you feel like your video card is just choking and you're having FPS drops, say you're seeing FPS drops. If you are having a lot of rubber banding, tell us that. I think a good example of this is actually was mentioned in the show Scrubs, right? That what I think it was Kelso said, that the patients didn't come anymore and tell doctors what symptoms they had. They came to the doctors and said, I think I have this. And so the doctors would test for that, and it wouldn't be that. Whereas if you tell us the symptoms, we can try and do the diagnosis because we know what's happening behind the scenes, right? And it's tough to not want to do more in that on your own end, right? Because it'll feel like you're being more helpful. But a lot of times just the raw symptoms will speak to us and say, hey, I remember somebody complained about this before, and it turned out it was this, or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, Spencer here had made a map with, what was it, 96 tactical cubes in Foundry.
It was the max amount of entity groups you could get in there. So
It was a bad idea, I bet.
Actually,
playing through it, we're going to use the word lag as a general term for this.
Yeah.
There was a lot less lag than in ISA.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was also, I went in with a team from the Agronauts channel the other day. We went in, did a Hive Space Elite, and we were just bouncing all over the place, all at the exact same time. And then immediately afterwards, we go into this Foundry map, and we're fighting 25 tac cubes, a few smaller cubes, and a bunch of spheres. And
you know what? One of our QA guys came and asked me about that and said, hey, why do you think this could be? Do you think there's something that the Foundry's doing that's causing? I suspect. So if you're playing Infected or the Hive, you're on a game server machine, and the way our logic works, there are multiple people, different instances, right, of that same thing running at the same time. If you're on a Foundry map, you're probably the only one on there. Right, meaning that there's a group of 5 of you or whatever, but there's probably not 20 other groups of 5 of you in that same map. So you actually have, the server is using fewer resources.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
That would
That's
be
my
partial.
best
That
guess.
would. Sorry, I would interject here. I would partially make sense, except that a lot of people do not play Hive Space Elite. We could probably count on one hand the number of groups that will actually run into that instance
It
and
would
do it, whether
share
public
with
or private.
it would share with the Hive map.
Thank you. Now
So
that might help a little bit. Now, does that also say that Hive instance server, whether it's a virtual instance that's popped up from a physical server or a different thread, does that also share any sort of CPU time with any of the other instances?
I mean, essentially, yeah. So it would be, for instance, if we're talking about the Hive, I don't know how many are allowed to run at once on a particular game server. We do have levels for those, right? So, for instance, we don't have 20 copies of Earth space stock running necessarily on one machine, but maybe it's okay if we have 20 copies of, I don't know, Pajam running on one machine. So I think that if that's what you're asking, so the Hive is the Hive, I think, regardless of difficulty, unless I'm mistaken, and I could be, but I think that it's basically all the same with a slightly different, like the map itself is the same, it just has different combat data, sort of.
Different multipliers.
Something kind of like that. Now, again, I could be wrong. I don't know the specific setup of our queues. They're like insane sometimes to get set up, but that's how it was done before.
I think our main issue with the lag, and we've discussed this before. So you mentioned that the big great list from before, and actually that was a fantastic time, even though there was a lot of lag, even though the game was unplayable. We got literally it was horrible.
No, I know.
I mean, I made a couple of videos. We posted a few videos to dubstep, and the ships were dancing to the dubstep. It was bad. But I think the point was that the good thing from that was the communication that we got from your team. So especially from Salami Inferno and from Bordicus and from others, just giving us updates every once in a while about the status of what this was being done. And I think the main issue we have, at least I can't speak for everyone else here, is that recently it's been really silent. It's been dead silent apart from that last tweet from Bort that you mentioned. I don't think I've seen or heard anything else mentioned about the lag being worked on.
Yeah, I think part of that is really speaks to how busy we've been with, I mean, now that the cat's out of the bag, we've been working on both a huge expansion and a release to consoles, and so we've been really, 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 really busy, like way more than we have before. And I mean, honestly, I feel like I definitely haven't been interacting with people as much as I used to. I mean, I hadn't been on our subreddit for like, I don't know, felt like a few months probably, just because I didn't have time. It's like working long days way too frequently, and the last thing you want to do, because I mean, generally, if I'm on the subreddit, it's in my own time. The last thing you want to do when you've just spent 10 hours or 12 hours at work is go home and do more work. So that's part of it, and I think we've recognized it's a problem. I know I've tried to make time during the work day to interact with everyone and to try and keep the communication going on. So
well, if it's something that you can actually pass along to the high muckety muck, even just Salami Inferno himself, just to update every once in a while in regards to this goes a very long way. A very long way.
No, absolutely. I'll give you guys my sincerest apologies about that, because I do think we've failed you there. And I mean, it's on all fronts. I wouldn't attribute it to any single person. So sorry.
Okay, but no, the information that you gave us tonight is absolutely fantastic. That pretty much allays a lot of the issues or the problems I have with the game right now. That I know that people are actually working on it, despite the fact that you have a huge expansion coming out, which I'm actually looking forward to, plus the console release, which I believe you guys actually moved some of the Neverwinter guys over to work on that as well. Or people that were working on Neverwinter, you moved them.
We definitely had people that were on other projects come over, yeah.
Actually, with the console, now that we're talking about like teams and that, with the introduction of console, I believe the release is what, fall of this year, correct? Around that time?
I don't remember what the release date
I thought
is.
it was fall. Anyway, for whenever it comes out, it's obviously there's going to be a lot of there's going to be influx of players and all that, which is going to obviously double the numbers on, well, hopefully double the numbers on the forums. Does that mean that the community management team is going to expand?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't actually know. That's all Perfect World.
Okay.
So
I
that's
thought I'd
their.
ask.
No, it's not about. That's a good question. I just don't even. I will be honest. I had not even thought of it. Partly because I am so heads down in Agents of Yesterday. We are actually, knock on wood, almost done with development. We're working right now on just polishing everything, and the last, you heard the saying, like, the last 10% takes 90% of the time.
Yep.
It feels like that right now. So I'll be able to think about other things soon.
Soon, when Salami pulls you into the boardroom. All right, cool, great job. AoY AoY is done.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do next?
Yeah. No, I could tell you that, but I can't tell you that.
Oh.
I know what we're doing for the next. I think we have planned through part of 2018.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I can tell you that we all have our clearances here, so you could tell us off air, and we
yeah.
promise not to tell anybody.
Oh, sure, totally. We're off air now, I bet, right?
Oh yeah.
No, we're not off air yet. We'll be
It's a snowman expansion. Don't tell.
Okay.
Oh, don't give that away yet.
I see a few questions. No PC and console are not playing together, and no Foundry on the console.
No, hold on. This is something I actually wanna just a quick question about that. Is that set in stone?
Which part?
The consoles and the PC playing together. Is that actually set in stone, or is that kind of maybe we'll see in the future?
No, as far as I understand it, at least at launch, it's going to be set in stone. I talked about this a little somewhere, that there are problems with trying to keep those lockstep, or buddy.
Well, yes, of course. One game I used to play before Borderlands 2, they did really good job at this, where they had like a PC, PlayStation, and a Xbox release. And what they did is what they wrote it was platform agnostic, their coding. And then when they compiled it multiple times for each platform.
Oh no, I mean that's how ours works essentially, right? There's a few like if checks for like, oh, only do this bit for whichever platform. But that said, it's more than just that. It's for instance, the certification process for the consoles. You have to get every single patch through a certification process with Microsoft or with Sony, and that takes time. So we would have to drastically change our development cycle for all of the platforms, which would mean that PC would see big delays while we waited for things to get through certification, and we don't want to do that. I mean, we don't want this to really change how we've been doing things for our you guys have been here for how long now, and
True.
we don't want to.
Now, I do know that, like a while back, I think it was Microsoft did some tests. This was like 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, where they were actually testing out the viability of having PC players play against console players on one of the Xboxes. I don't remember which one it was exactly. And
Well, I think they recently said that if they don't currently allow it, they will.
yeah, I think the problem back then was they hired the best Xbox, or I think it was Xbox 360 first-person shooter players, and they pitted them against just regular PC players. And they got their rear ends handed to them, basically.
Oh yeah, because you're not going to be as responsive with a controller, right? You think about how long it takes to do a 360 turnaround on a controller, for instance, compared to with a mouse.
Yeah.
You can adjust. I mean, especially with mouse sensitivity is so fine-tuned, and you talk about, I have actually 2 gaming mice, and the fact that I know that they have different, what is it? It's not dots per inch, is it? Well, whatever. The thingy that says how good they are.
DPI.
It is dots per inch.
Yeah, dots per inch.
Oh, it is. Well, look at that. I'm smarter than I thought. Anyway, the consoles don't have that.
Yeah. So they basically, at that point, Xbox was like, nope, not doing that again. But I think recently they've actually gone back. Actually, I think Sony has come out and flat out said, yes, we're interested in doing this in the future.
Yes,
Probably because-
Sony said they would like doing cross-platform with even Xbox.
And Xbox, Microsoft has actually kind of tentatively, yeah, it's unsure, but they would have to streamline that certification process, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it really, that is what it comes down to. And on top of that, there are certain things that they require as part of their technical stuff, like on the Xbox, if you want to have a friend in the game, they have to be your Xbox friend. So there's no concept of a friend from like Cryptic, right?
Right.
And their matchmaking, I believe, has to go through their party system. And I could be wrong about that. You can't anything that you want to buy, you have to do with Microsoft points.
Right.
And you'd have to do, you know what I mean? It's like little stuff like that is really easy to not think of, and I would certainly not have known about it had I not read their like 200-300 page requirements document.
Whoosh.
Don't you want an Xbox friend? That's amazing.
But yeah, this is something we actually don't think about. Like the chat server, for example, is a
Right.
separate server that's across
Right.
all the Cryptic games, I believe, and
Right
even the
now,
friends list.
right now we have our global chat server, so that each you can talk to people playing any of our games. So if you want to be in Champions playing and have a friend on Neverwinter playing, and you're playing in Star Trek Online, you can all talk on the same chat server, right? Reddit chat works, for instance, no matter which game you're playing. But that wouldn't be possible.
Right.
On,
I believe the friends list is global as well. You can see your friends
yes,
in different games.
exactly. And that would just not be a thing. So I think we'd have to rewrite it and make that system not work, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's sad. I really actually love that the chat is, across servers.
Yeah, that's actually
Now,
pretty unique. Actually, I don't think any other company does that except for Blizzard. Maybe Blizzard. Actually, no. Blizzard has the.
not Blizzard doesn't do it to this type of degree here, where you're actually in the game and talking to people in different games like this. You have to use their other chat function to be able to take care of that, unless you link into your Battle.net and Battle.net account, and then you have people tied in like that. Even then, it's still not as tight knit as this, because
As
you still keep
fluid.
all of your channels within whatever game you're going into.
Right. Oh boy.
Oh boy. Now, one thing for you here, Maria, the actual, speaking to the chat channels there, this is like an old IRC server that's running in the background, handling all of the chat communications, right?
Well, kind of. I mean, it's proprietary, but I think if you want to envision it as an IRC server, you're probably not too far off.
Yeah, it's XMPP. Yep. Yep. Someone already took care of that. Thank you, Mikey. You could have said that yourself. But yeah, but it is a lot of IRC commands that are very familiar for some of us old chat vets out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
ASL.
Very, very familiar. Zeph, continue with the interrogation.
Okay, how many lights are there?
I think 42 at last count.
Awesome. Cool. I'm actually just going to pull a question from the chat. Other than the people who have been confirmed in blogs for voiceover work, is there more people doing that? Like, can we expect more names to be announced for AoY?
Who has been announced in blogs?
Well, you got Chekhov. Oh my God, my brain. Daniel.
Chekhov and James Doohan's son, Chris. This guy.
Right. And then there was Vic.
Yeah, Big Nugna, who is Kirk in Star Trek Continues. Definitely worth watching if you guys haven't seen it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
there's.
super nice guy too. We met him in Vegas.
Yep,
Oh,
he's
nice.
nice.
But yeah, there's 4 names out there. Is there going to be more?
We'll see, huh?
Oh, I love that deflection. God.
When do I ever give spoilers? Never.
Maria, come on, Maria. You're one of my 2 favorite devs. You can throw us a bone, right?
You have
Would it be
another favorite?
Would it be a spoiler
I'm
to tell us
having
who the other favorite is, Cam? Question.
No, it wouldn't be a spoiler. It's obvious. Cryptic Spartan.
Oh, he's
yes.
great.
Yes, he is.
He's great. I'm hanging up though.
Oh.
Just kidding. No, I'm not saying.
Okay.
Plus,
Fine.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
All right, side question here, real quick, and we'll resume this here. Does Borkus really have a picture of me on his dartboard?
I don't actually know if he has a dartboard.
The picture's hanging on something, though, right?
I see.
See what you did there? That was epic.
I think we're gonna have to try and get Bordicus on here.
Ah, yes.
That'd be cool, actually. I don't know if
no,
he'll do it, but we can certainly ask him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd really like to talk to Taco and Thomas, but right now we're talking to Maria. If you're just tuning in.
And if you're just tuning in, shame on you, because this has been a scintillating hour and a half of conversation.
No. They just thought we'd start on our regular time if they're just tuning in now.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
still
boy.
going with shame on you.
Yeah.
Come on,
shame
come on
you.
now.
You know what?
She's coming to our rescue right here. Step back, let the lady do some work.
Yeah, let me be angry if I want to be angry.
This was no surprise. I even tweeted this out the day before. Usually I do night of. No, I went crazy day before. Anyway, back to the questions. We were talking about STFs and stuff like that. Why can't we have elite queues?
Well, I mean, that answer is not safe for work. I could tell you why you don't have them.
Oh boy. Okay.
It's just, it's actually because it's a lot of work. It is, however, something that we, because as I said, we're planning for the next X amount of time, and it is among the things that we have identified as something we want to something we want to tackle. It's just that we want to do them justice. We want them to be actually elite and actually give rewards that are worth eliting for. And anyway, that's why.
Well, it's like we talk about not making things HP sponges to make them harder, like actually adding mechanics, making the NPCs use varied amounts of powers in intelligent ways and things like that. If we have to wait, but something like that is down, down the pipe, then I think we can wait.
Yeah, it's definitely, we don't want it to be just a DPS race.
Yeah. Well,
Well, that's nice to hear.
No, there was, I believe it was I think it was either a Q&A or an interview with Gecko at another establishment, and it seemed like Gecko was a pretty firm no on elites ever coming back, and there's a lot of us who are looking for that challenge, which is why people are starting to go to the Foundry and create these maps that spawn 96 tactical cubes, just because right now Advanced is just getting, like, people are blowing through Crystalline Entity in 25 seconds or less. Which will
Remember
be
that
awesome.
day we got the trillions of damage accidentally, that bug? That was so cool.
Wasn't that cool?
Plasma consoles, if I remember right.
I really enjoyed one-shotting that entity multiple times.
Yeah, I've got to say, that's what it makes me think of when you guys talk about that. I know it's not the same. Sorry.
Bort was sad, and so I was sad. Bort was sad.
No, we were all laughing about it.
Yeah. Oh, I think there was the tribble testing where it was when we first started, when there's first, like, the community getting together and trying to help identify the lag. So let's go to tribble, and there's a bunch of guys that went into CCA with Bordicus, and said something along the lines of, "This wasn't supposed to be defeated this quickly."
We never designed it to die this quickly.
Yeah. So, it's reasons like that is why there's a lot of us in the community who really are passionate, like really want the elite queues back. And when Gecko kind of said no, it seemed like a really firm no, and we're all kind of be like, well, why?
We want them back to the point where we will put in a lot of work to help you tune them.
Spencer, you had a couple of questions too, right? Are you still awake?
Yes. I'm actually still awake. One of them...
I cut into one of yours, but it was because we were on the topic, so...
Yeah. Well, one of them is related to that, and that is no-win scenario. That's a specific queue that a lot of us really liked, and we still really miss it. Any updates?
Nope. So realistically, why was it removed? I hope that's obvious, because it was no longer a no-win scenario. In fact, it was a you're probably gonna win scenario. And so we are definitely not bringing that back unless we can actually make it more like an actual no-win scenario, which is, not the easiest thing in the world, because you guys just keep getting better, and if you would just stop that,
Some of us get better, and some of us, Spencer, get cheesier.
You know what I bet we could do, actually, is just, like, have everybody's DPS, and then maybe every queue becomes a no-win scenario. What do you think?
Well, you could do that, but you've introduced so much power creep into this game that you could half everybody's DPS, and you'd still get people finishing instances in about a minute or less.
Okay, we'll quarter it then. No, we'll just keep cutting it down. We'll decimate it. We'll bring it instead. We'll not decimate. That's reduced by a 10th. We will bring it down to a 10th.
It won't work. I'm telling you, it won't work. You try doing stuff like that to the high end, and the only
I know. Then the low end becomes. What we have to do is just put a cap. Right? Like we'll just say we'll cap you at about 7K.
So one turret.
I mean.
Half a turret and a plasma explosion.
In that case, that's
the biggest forum threat ever.
You wouldn't even do that because at that point,
You'll
if
be
the Cap
throwing spitballs at them, okay? That's what you got. You got a straw and some wads of paper. Those are your new weapons.
Well, in that case,
Ramirez.
I won't
That's
have to
how I feel
invest in
every time I
anything.
fire a destructible torp at a target.
So in that case, you put a cap. What's the incentive for me to actually invest and buy new ships and whatever? I'll just take an NX with a turret and I can hit the cap with that ship.
Exactly. No. But basically, we were going to do it. We want to do it, but it's like really, really, really difficult to try and make this thing that's going to, like, you know, actually be difficult. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be like Corfez and only be at Elite.
Oh,
Yeah,
You
the
know what?
Elite was actually
You know
pretty
what, though?
challenging.
Well, hold on. But you know what, though? For next year's April Fool's joke, just for like 8 hours, just set everybody's DPS at a cap to 1/10 of their maximum. Go with that.
I like it, right? Or I would love to do. There are so many great ideas that we have for April Fools, and then what happens is it becomes like, late March, and we're like, oh, we should have been working on this.
So next year, change everyone's ships to an NX class ship, no matter what you change to. The forums will probably burn down in a fiery flame with all the QQ. Oh my god, I went to my Anorex and it's an NX. I lost my Anorex. Oh my god.
Yeah, I
Doom.
think. See, we can't do anything that's gonna like create a bunch of support tickets because we like our support people more than that. I do want to say somebody asked about can TOS, will they have to get their own fleets? It's gonna be more like Romulans, except since you can't choose Klingon. Sorry guys, I hope that's not a spoiler. So you can just join Fed fleets.
okay. That was
Answer
actually a
that
question.
question.
That was
So it's
actually a
kinda
question I was going to ask earlier, but skipped over it. But yeah,
So
sorry,
it's
Alan.
like a separate faction, but in the fleet aspect, it's still considered Federation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like basically, I'm not going to spoil. You'll see what happens, and everything will make sense.
Well, you just tell us now. It's okay.
I think you'll find out if you have triple access within the next couple weeks.
Oh, I'm the tutorial mission keeps bugging on me, so.
Yeah, we're working on it. Basically, I think our designers made somewhat of a poor choice in implementation, and for good reasons. I think that we would have needed new tech. So we'll see. We have a tech conversation coming up, actually.
Awesome. Because
So
I'm trying to get.
related,
Oh, sorry.
related to the queues, with the
Yep.
Crystalline event coming back up,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts on making the items we get from these events account-wide so we can get them on perhaps our Agents of Yesterday characters like the AP Torpedo?
We've been talking about that, and I don't know where we landed on it. I'll be honest. We have also been discussing, for instance, ways that maybe we'd be able to, like, if you weren't playing back when we let you get Zephram Cochrane's shotgun, I mean, I'm crying for you because that is seriously amazing. And so we've been talking like, how can we get these to people who missed out, and in a way that is not like devaluing the work that other people like I earned it, and not devaluing the efforts I put into it. So it's something we're talking about, and I don't know where we landed on that or where we landed on account unlocks. I know we did it for ships, but I don't know where we have landed on doing it for guns and stuff, or
And new players.
right.
Especially when you have like and probably an influx of new players for the consoles as well. I think that was
Well, they'll have kind of like their own thing, right? Like they may
have their own events come up again and just
right,
recycle.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm making a note to ask about the account unlock stuff. So, just a second while I write. Okay.
And you see, this is exactly why we enjoy having the actual Cryptic personnel on the show, because we can get stuff like this going on here. It's like, look, you're helping us enjoy your game more, and we're helping you get the metrics that you need in order to be able to make a better product so you can get more people in.
No, metrics don't come from you guys. Metrics come from our servers. They're
we generate those metrics. What are you
well,
talking about?
yes. By logging in, you are one of the many statistics.
Hear that, Odin? You're a statistic, you angry
Oh,
New Yorker.
so am I, trust me.
Damn it, I'm a token statistic.
We all are. I am one of the, 17% of female producers in the industry or something. Anyway.
Yeah, but are you also a cannon pilot, or do you put beams on an escort?
Come on! Come on,
Yes.
Odin!
I'm just checking. I'm just checking here.
You know. Pew,
So
pew, pew.
just to point it out, Maria actually, the ship that I see her fly the most is a Eclipse. I'm not sure if it's a fleet Eclipse or not, but it runs
Vanilla.
cannons.
Oh, yes. Cannons and turrets.
And
that's
before
it.
that, it was a Defiant.
No, never.
Really?
No, I don't like the Defiant.
I
What?
remember you in an escort.
Major, shut this thing off.
Aesthetically, I was in the original free Prometheus, the Tier 4 one. I liked its seat layout the best.
Yes.
And then I was in the bug ship. Excuse me, the Jem'Hadar attack ship.
Space
And then I went to my Intel escort with the science nacelles, because it looks better that way. Sorry to my ship guys, but otherwise it looked a little too much like the Defiant. And now I'm in a pilot ship. Usually, maybe not on my dev character, but I prefer the pilot ships. I love those maneuvers. Aesthetically, they're not as appealing to me, though. I feel like they're too Defiant-y.
Now there is a question with cannons I have.
Mm-hmm.
What about moving cannon abilities down a rank? There's a lot of people that would very much like that.
What do you mean?
Like have Scatter Volley and Rapid Fire start at Ensign instead of Lieutenant, so that you'd be able to put Scatter Volley 3 where you would put Fa 3.
Who uses scatter volley though? That's not what cannons are good at.
I love Scatter Volley.
Yeah, but it's not. So cannons are really good. You're gonna focus fire on one target, man. You gotta, rapid fire or surgical strikes that stuff.
Yeah, Spencer.
But
have you seen the content lately? There's so much AoE balls going around the place.
Yeah, I just
need to scatter volley everything.
I guess I just never use it. It feels to me like inefficient. But you know what? I'm gonna admit I am not the highest DPSer. I just kind of do what's fun, and scatter volley isn't fun for me. I just destroying. In fact, somebody played with my character, and they're like, "Oh, one of the newer systems guys." He's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh my!" He's like, "I just turned and shot at that guy, and he was gone." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." So, but that's because I have the chemo site and. My Alpha Strike is good. But, yeah, that's an interesting point, because they are somewhat analogous. Analogous, whichever one it is.
Analogous.
I'll write that down, too.
Yeah, well, on a semi-related note with that, someone else has brought up here, is there anything being done to have a hybrid-type loadout in the game where you'd be able to slot beams and cannons and a torpedo out there with what you see on the show? A more canonical build.
I mean, you can already do that. That's what the ships come with.
Right, but I think what they're trying to say is there's a greater incentive to be able to do that. I mean, we see it with some of the traits that come out there, like Checkmate, for example, or Weapon System Synergy. But it doesn't seem to be enough of an incentive for people to say, do this more often, and you will be rewarded pleasantly with stuff blowing up.
Well, I'm gonna put the counter out there that there is always going to be a meta that gets you the highest DPS, right? And that's going to be your flavor of the week. And if you want to just do PvE content at normal difficulty, having a ship that matches the IP more in its abilities is totally viable, and you will be fine, and you will do well. If you want to just melt faces and do like 10 billion DPS, then probably not. We're probably not going to be able to make a sort of canon beam build.
I see what you did there.
I see that too. Excellent.
Spencer, go on with your next question, please.
The Armada system.
Yeah.
So it's been out now for what, 9 months, almost a year, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any updates coming to address the various issues with the system currently? Like the XP bonus, for example, only applies to critter kills. You have no way to track the Armada contributions, and there's no way to set a separate name.
Well, the Armada name is the name of the parent. We discussed this. That was actually one of the first things that we were like, what are we going to do here? And that was our decision. I don't know if we have plans to change that. As far as the XP on critter kills only, I'm not sure. I mean, it's certainly not a bug. It's definitely currently a limitation. I don't know what if we're going to like do anything to track that or to change that, I should say. And when you say no way to track Armada contributions, what is that you really mean?
So if someone contributes from your fleet to another fleet in the Armada, you can't go and look at that if you were doing promotions, for example.
Is it not one of the things? I know we added a bunch of stuff to the admin tools. It's not in there.
So what happens currently, if I'm in my fleet and I donate to another fleet, the amount that I contributed or donated will show up on the other fleet's board.
Well, it's just accurate.
But
That's
it
an
won't show up
interesting
in my
point.
fleet's board.
Right. Right. I mean, I could say, well, obviously, because you didn't donate to your fleet, but I get what you're saying because for you, specifically, I know for the Reddit fleets, it becomes an issue when you are doing promotions, right? Because you're tracking across Armada donations.
Yeah.
Right, I'm not in a Reddit fleet. I used to be in one of them, but currently I...
But for the sake of argument,
yes.
It's an example. I would suspect that that's kind of something we probably wouldn't have thought of because that is not how personally we have interacted with fleets. It's an interesting point though. So I don't know how the technical side of that works, if that's like a trivial thing to get or a difficult thing to get. I can make a note of it though because that is pretty interesting.
Well, you can see like the contributions that they've made. You just got to know,
Right.
like in a huge.
But you have to go kind of dig for it.
Yeah, and grab a calculator and add it all up and stuff like that. Yeah.
So maybe a Armada leaderboard, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's interesting. At the very least, it'd be nice for on the admin side, right?
Yeah.
Because we made some really great stuff there, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, like that we never used because our fleet is like, I don't know, 20 people or something.
But yeah, there hasn't been really any updates to the Armada system recently, and there, like Spencer mentioned, there are some issues with it.
Are there any plans to expand upon the Armada system?
I don't know. For the sake of argument, if I did know of anything, I wouldn't be able to mention it. So, I
We
can't
put cheese on
remember
the
what
Samsung.
we originally talked about when we were building the system. There was other functionality. I don't know if any of that is in the near term. If that answers. So, because as I said, we're discussing what's coming up. Nothing is set in stone yet. So, I just can't really remember.
Okay. I think the next bunch of questions is related to the Foundry.
My baby.
All right. So, is there any official content going to be released by Cryptic to help people learn the Foundry?
No, probably not. We tried to do that ages ago, and I'll be honest, the Foundry authors have done things that we did not think were possible. Back, people here for season 4 remember season 4 if you were a Foundry author, and I'm sorry still about this, but it had us downloading a bunch of projects. Foundry, that's what they're called. I don't know if that's what they're called in the editor. I forget. But we had us downloading a bunch of them and had the programmers looking at them, and we had to do a bunch of side-by-side playthroughs of them to make sure that we had fixed certain issues. And the programmers were like, how did they even do this? And they had to like go in and look at it and were amazed at certain things that were possible. And I mean, they know everything you can do with the tool. The guys, there was 2 guys that programmed it, and so they knew everything that you could do. And still, they were surprised and like amazed by it, if you will, because it was just like, how did they manage this? And it's just really clever use of the things that are there. And so at this point, I mean, we know how it works, but the people actually making the Foundry missions, the authors, are the experts on it at this point, because they just use it far more than anyone in the building does. So I would say that the various podcasts out there, like I know Foundry Roundtable does a lot of stuff, and I don't know if it's still around. I saw they had problems with it. Starbase UGC, they had a bunch of stuff. So we've found that the information provided by the actual authors using it has been far, far better than anything we could make.
I have a question / maybe suggestion on that part, and this was actually something that we touched on either last week or the week before when we were talking about new players coming in to the game and giving them references of point, because like there's people who come to the game who shockingly don't know about Sarcasm Detector or Zeph Films or Odin Knight or the show. So when you log into Foundry, you have your main page there. Is it possible to add a separate little window off onto the side, be like, want to learn the many different aspects of Foundry, and then a couple of suggested YouTube links from verified sources, like something that you would look through? Because I see Josh from Foundry Roundtable said they're starting a spin-off tutorial series, Foundational Foundry, which I'm guessing that's going to be a thing about teaching people how to use the Foundry. I have a couple of things about Demo Record, about how to use EasyPath and how to make Demo Record do what Demo Record's supposed to do, and a little bit more. So is it possible to add a module on Foundry with those kind of links?
I think there's no way we could, I think, link to it directly to like a YouTube video, for instance, because if you pulled it down, it would no longer be working. But it is certainly something that we could try and put like a help page that might collect all those. It has been like really difficult to figure out how best to handle this, because there's like no way within the game engine that we could accurately show what, you know, like a tutorial, for instance, for
Right.
this kind of thing, just because of the way the engine works and that sort of thing. But I mean, it is an interesting thought process. I will say, one of the games I play, if you go to their in-game help, it actually goes to a wiki that is not maintained by them. And I think about, for instance, what happened with the old STO wiki when it was infected. By was it? I think some of the Google ads had some like basically Trojans hiding in them and hijacking people's computer, and I can only imagine how horrible that would be if we ended up linking to something like that. You know what I mean? So I just worry about that sort of thing. I think there must be a way, but I don't know what that way is yet, and I think that is why we haven't seen anything in far too long.
Well, Dark Eddie actually just put up an interesting suggestion. Put that info as wallpapers on loading screens.
Yeah, we actually, some of you may remember when we had game tips on loading screens, that were hysterically out of date. Really quickly after writing them sometimes.
Yeah.
So we did have that, and we actually were working on a new way to implement that, and we have a list. And I went back and looked at it kind of recently, and some of those things were already out of date. And I see somebody asking if our programmers could do tutorial videos. No, the two guys that wrote that aren't with the company anymore because, I mean, that project shipped, gosh, 4 years ago, I think, and they're on to other things because that's kind of what programmers do. They get tired of stuff and have to go to the new shiny. But
Said
no.
a chuckle here. I guess it's kind of equivalent. Asking the developers to write a tutorial for the Foundry would be like asking the developers to make a tutorial about how to do high DPS. You're better off asking
Yes.
the players than the
Absolutely. Because, I mean, our systems guys, there's a few of them. I'd say there's a couple that are min-maxers, but a couple who that's just not their play style, and I think that's valid. I think you need both on your team. And no, I mean you want to hear from the people who are in that tool every day, who are living and breathing DPS, for instance, if you want to learn how to DPS, and we're too busy like working on other stuff to be those people.
Correct.
You must
Which is
find
why-
top players.
Yeah, which is why you have people like Spencer or myself or Odin or whoever it might be with that information, and usually we do a pretty good job at disseminating that.
Yeah,
that's why
I
we
don't
also
know.
have-
I generally ask Cryptic Spartan.
I was just going to say, and that's also why we have the show. So if there's stuff out there that will help somebody that we don't know, we can at least try and get that out there for somebody else to see. And I think it's more often than not actually helps some folks that didn't know about stuff. So
Krypton, like every one of us actually learned from someone. So, I had my mentor and I have people who I taught, and those people have gone on and passed that knowledge along. So even Cryptic Spartan most likely had a mentor.
No, I doubt it. I think he just came up with everything on his own. He's just like a really smart guy.
He is.
So
I just had a...
demo record too.
I remember who taught me, absolutely.
I actually just
neither of them
thought of a
played
question regarding the Foundry and the console variant. Will the console variants of the game have the Foundry? And if so, no. Aww.
No. We may manually put some of the Foundry missions onto the console, but probably not even that. Unfortunately, it's just like a super headache. There are behind the scenes programmatic technical reasons why we really would make that really, 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 really difficult.
Does that mean no demo record on console either?
I'm guessing there's probably not going to be a demo record.
Oh, that would probably be hard as hell to try and do.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know how you would. You know what? Actually, let's the closest you're gonna get is you know hook up a VCR there to your TV.
Well,
just press record.
both of the new consoles have ways to capture in-game footage and share it anyway.
Right, but it's not this demo record is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's different, but
it's my magical playground.
So could you capture, for instance, footage of you playing? Yes. Can you do the same demo recordy magicness? No. For those that don't know, demo record has like a whole editor where you can like detach cameras and set your own camera paths and like magic. So it's more than just like YouTube press record type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much. It's like it's pretty much a 3D editor. You can it's not just the camera paths and angles. You can change different settings. You can remove certain visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
You can even change certain things like your ship skin. For example,
you can change it into other ship skins like Happy Mortal did.
You know, just turn a scimitar into a Constitution class, for example, and make a video of it, which is worth it. I think I spoiled it and gave away the magic trick there, but yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, things you can do, and I think the only way that could work on the console is to probably make like some kind of additional client.
I think we should just worry about the game getting to console and not worry about demo record.
I mean, I'll tell you, that's what I'm doing.
I think the folks that demo record appeals to probably won't play this game on consoles, would be my guess, or won't play it primarily on consoles.
Dude, I did a camera path the other day on Monday with 123 camera points, lasting almost 3 minutes. I would not want to do that on console. No way. No how.
So,
no.
I do some demo records as well, not on the level of Alan here. And when he just said 123 paths or 123 points in 3 minutes, I think I need to go out and have a cigarette and stretch or something. Wow.
Basically, Alan just said, I'm a masochist. If those of you that haven't used, I'm translating for you.
Yeah.
Holograms don't feel pain. We don't really worry about Alan.
That's pretty insane. I mean, I think I've done, what was my maximum? I think 70-something points in a couple of minutes, but 123, wow.
You're all like your real
nuts.
pain.
It's crazy. If you've ever actually gone in and done like camera pathing in demo record, most people will get away with like, 2, 3, maybe maximum of 10 paths, 10 points. But when you start getting into like those high numbers, like some of my cinematics I do for some of my shakedown videos, I'll go through like 30 points, 40 points maybe for a really elaborate one. 123 is just, this is Sparta.
I just did a check. It was 152. Sorry.
Alan's video mentor is apparently John Woo.
Okay, so
Hey, I know who that is.
I understood that reference.
Last question in regards to the Foundry. What is the future of the Foundry? Is there going to be any new ships, contents, powers, etc.? Is there a future?
I mean, of course. I am hoping. So, okay. We'll get some history. Sorry, I had to go get a drink, so I hope I didn't miss anything real good. But
No, you're good.
because I was dying. It is like approximately 90 degrees inside my house right now. Anyway, so we have put Foundry support time in this schedule on multiple different disciplines, like repeatedly, and unfortunately, people run over on tasks or an emergency comes up, and so far, Not a single one of those times has happened. Because that's the thing most easily cut back on, right? Like if we have, on the one hand, an episode that's about to go out that has major environment bugs, or on the other hand, we have, let's add stuff for the Foundry, I can tell you which one is going to get priority. And I hope everybody agrees that that makes sense. So I have been doing all of the adding for the most part. Nick, Taco Fangs, Tumor Boy, he will add stuff too. But I'm hoping to add all of the stuff from Agents of Yesterday that I can. That said, it's questionable whether that will happen for launch because, like, for instance, adding a map, I have to wait until the artists are completely done with all the polish work on it so that we get the best version of it in the Foundry. If I put it in today and they made a complete pass on it tomorrow, the version in the Foundry would not get that update. So that means it's like I'm working at the last minute, and I'm really, really bad at putting maps in. It's like a lot of work. You would think it should be simple because just go in and remove a bunch of stuff like mission logic, and no, it's actually really insane because our designers, none of them do anything the same way as each other. So it's like, oh, this guy puts this information here and that guy puts it in this other place. And then you go looking through text files and you're like, maybe I can just do it this way. And then no, because where do these text files live? And anyway, so I'm trying to work on that. I think costumes should be no problem. I'm hoping to get those for sure. And you guys have some stuff in store for you there. That's all I'm saying. We're not getting my very favorite costumes, but we're getting a couple of good ones. Well, more than a couple. Anyway, and there, I think they answered that. New stuff for sure. I want to add all the different groups that we have, like, you know, the Nicools and the Crinums and the...
You almost slipped.
Okay.
Well, hold on a second. To save you on this one, when will the Foundry ever get to come out of beta and actually hit the 1.x status?
Yes.
Good answer. Good answer.
Oh, no, sorry. 5.
Okay.
I like the first answer better.
USS
Oh, not
Lollipop.
the 5. Not the 5 thing again.
5.
No, not the 5. No, you should have said
5.
yes, and you just like fold your arms, and it would have been good. People have been like, yeah.
5.
5.
Okay, Odin, I got 2 things to say here. I think number 1, we should probably get in contact with some of the Foundry Roundtable guys and see if we can get them over to the show to have a discussion with us.
Well, we're definitely going to do that. I mean, considering that one of them has been shouting up and down in the chat for like half the night, man. You know, pay attention a little bit.
I don't pay attention to the chat. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's right. That's my job. You just make sure everything else works right.
Yeah, I just keep kicking the transmitter to make sure it's broadcasting. The
Gotcha.
second thing is that we're running up to 2 hours and 20 minutes, so I think the rest of the notes we have for the show should be moved on to either next week or we'll do another night this week, maybe.
Well, we could skip over a couple. I mean, we'd like to have Zero's interjection on here without tying her up too much. I mean, we could go over just very briefly, the 11.5 mechanics. We'll skip the blog one over there. The patch notes, everybody knows where you can find patch notes, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. We know SOB's drooling over that. We definitely want to include for new players, a beginner's guide to STO, minus the AoY stuff there, obviously. But we have a Redditor by Original Bucky33 who's been writing a guide for some of the content we already have on Holodeck. And he's got 1 through 20 covered and 20 through 40 covered. And when he's done doing whatever he's doing right now, he's going to resume on 40 through 60. So we want to say thank you for the work. Mikey, this has been submitted to you for review for our RSTO builds along with the rest of the moderators. So this is in your ballpark right here.
All right, well, with it. Gracias.
I actually have one more question.
Sorry, I was being Darth Vader.
So, recently, well, post-Delta Rising, most lockbox weapons have been account-bound, but there's been one or two that have been character-bound. Any chance, like, say, Coalition Disruptors could be made account-bound?
It's a trap!
You and your
Is it?
damn coalition.
Yeah, they're currently character-bound, and they're
No, why is
very
it a trap?
costly.
Don't believe the hype. Spencer's just trying to mess
It's
with
a trap because he wants to be able to transfer his power creep to all of his other tunes. Don't do it.
Well, he could do that for everything else, right?
Yeah,
Basically.
it should. Technically speaking, it should be done, but
yeah,
it's not.
it's odd that the cold discs are different than the rest of the beams in that way.
I took a note.
Thank you.
Speaking about last questions, I think, would you mind, Maria, if we actually opened up the floor to the chat to see if anyone has a question for you there?
Open it up.
All right. So
Actually,
there's-
there was one question in chat.
So,
PvP was asked about in chat.
Yes,
Oh.
I was going to bring that up anyway. So,
PvP.
We might be here a
yes,
while.
are we going to see any sort of improvements in PvP, whether it's new maps, new events, or any sort of things to do with it, like a new shard for PvP?
It's something
whether
that
it be on console or PC.
It's something that we're always discussing. Whether I know people think that like no, we're not, but it is. If you recall when there was voting and all this stuff, it didn't rate super high. But that said, we do know it's important. And excuse me, I burped a little. Sorry. Anyway, so we want to work on PvP, and we're discussing it. But we and I think we have a tentative plan in place that I am not at liberty to talk about, of course, because tentative plans can sometimes be broken, and then we have broken-hearted people. But if we do anything, we want to do it justice and not... Because I've suggested, I'm like, well, for me, actually one of my favorite PvP maps was always Shantytown. I loved that. So much fun. QA, we played that all the time, and I would just win or die or whatever, and it was great. But so I've said, hey, what if we turn X map into a PvP map? And they say, no, or you're dumb, or maybe. But so we're looking into it, but I don't have a good answer for right now. I don't know what's on the horizon or any kind of timelines or anything other than we would like to. And also for people saying, oh, such and such said no, it's way easier to say no because it is like when we say maybe, a lot of times it's heard as yes and next week. And then we get people that are upset. And so if we say no, if we ever do it, that's like super happy surprise time, right? So, but also
I think part of this actually has to deal with both communication from both parties and understanding from both parties. Yeah, we can communicate, and if we communicate effectively, but somebody doesn't understand it, the fault is not on the person who communicated effectively. And I will leave it at that. So if you say maybe we're working on it, it's still in the consideration, we don't have an ETA, and somebody says PvP is going to be out next week, we're going to go out there and say, no, moron, stop doing that.
Well, don't
it's going to just cause a riot for no reason.
You'll alienate your audience if you call them morons.
All right. I'm not going to call them. Well, I'm not going to call them morons.
You can think
I'm
moron.
That's a very not smart move on their part.
Call them troglodytes. Because if they really are morons, they won't understand that anyway.
Well, that's the point, though.
Okay, quick question from Jesse the medic. He brings up the Cation T6 carrier.
The what? Oh, the Aatrox.
Yes.
But like a tier 6 version?
Yeah, and actually I'd like to extend that question a little bit. So we got the Jupiter carrier that we all voted for. Voted for different parts. We were supposed to be seeing that that particular thing happen for the Romulans and the Klingons as well. So two-part question: Cation tier 6 and the be Romulan and Klingon carriers.
I didn't know that. I don't remember that we were going to definitely do ROM and Klingon versions of that. I thought it was dependent upon its success, and so I don't know. That actually was a lot of work for us, and our concept artist. It's primarily a ton of work for him, and we've been so busy with the Agents of Yesterday that he has had like no time. But his schedule's probably freeing up a little, so if we're going to start doing something like that, it would probably be later this year, is my guess, which I think would put it about a year between ships, if I remember right. And then as far as the Aatrox, I actually think, I'm not sure, I haven't heard of anything, but I think it was pretty much a fairly unpopular ship, to be honest. I think it's one of the better ones we've done, at least aesthetically, but then I really like Halo, and it reminds me of Covenant ships. And anyway, so I don't know. We do have a list of ships that's like we really like. We want to make tier 6 versions of a lot of them, but I don't know what order we have, or if it's every ship we've made, or what the deal is.
Are there going to be more than 6 missions in Agents of Yesterday?
Yeah.
Rapid fire. I'm still just going to rapid fire these questions at you as much as possible. Let me just take a look here. Will there be a fix for the core bird of prey? Currently cannot use the Beroth parts, but the Baroth can use the core parts. And I think Odin has taken this particular question.
Yes, multiple times we brought this up, especially when it was first released. The core skin works for the Baroth, but not vice versa. And that needs to be fixed, and as an attachment to that, change the torpedo console back to Photon as it was originally released. Thank you very much.
The answer to when anything, I don't know. As far as I didn't even know that was a bug, but that's not like I wouldn't know because I don't track bugs anymore.
Okay. Let's see. Are they gonna any more BOF bridge officer functionality on the horizon? Playable bridge officers, maybe excluding androids, of course. That one's from Orangitis.
Well, I mean, are they bridge officers if you're playing them?
I don't know.
I don't know. Will there be additional functionality? Well, we've had, let's see, the Intel bridge officers, command bridge officers, pilot bridge officers. I imagine that we will see more functionality in that vein, but I don't know anything beyond that.
Speculation, maybe a temporal bridge officer?
Who knows?
Speculations. Okay. Oh, money bags. Will the consoles get PvP?
I don't know of any plans to withhold it from the console, but I am only like tangentially involved with that part of the game, so I don't know all the full plans for it.
Shad1701 asks, when will Cryptic hire Alan Zeph Films to do their trailer work? And hype shoots for new content.
I believe we might be hiring somebody, but that is not a telecommute position. So keep an eye on the Perfect World Careers page if you're interested and are willing to deal with the insane housing market here in the Bay Area.
So that's a never, folks. Whoever asked that.
I mean, I'm not ruling this out. If it's a never, that's on him. I just want to make this clear, okay? Because we love Alan.
You heard it first on the show.
Just looking at the questions, when will the missing voiceovers be fixed? So I think some of the missions have broken voiceovers.
Really? Oh, I didn't know about this. I think if you, I know Cryptic Spartan is like really big on picking up on all these issues. If you put them on some bug thread somewhere, or whether on the forums or even on an official one on Reddit, it'll be added to our database and it'll be tackled when it can be. It's probably a tech issue on the audio side. So I don't have an answer for when. But as long as we know about it, it can be fixed. A lot of times, things that people take for granted that we know actually haven't been reported.
Okay. So my question then is for General Martok. Since you're the one asking this question, have you actually submitted a bug or reported this anywhere? And if so, if not, then you should probably get on that before asking the question. Let's see, what other questions are there?
While you're looking for that, Cam, I just wanted to say something from one William Smith, who had posted a comment on the previous episode of the show. And he's actually listening in on this one here tonight with some of his other buddies from a different game than I'm going to say DC Universe Online, where they're looking at STO and they want to see if this is something that would actually be more to their style or appealing to them. And everything that they've been listening in on this interview here has been helping them get a little bit closer to STL. So thank you very much, Maria.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just going to say we are free to play. You may as well download us and try us out, which actually sounds really inappropriate, but we're going to gloss over that. And our free to play model is, I think, maybe the best that I've seen. We never gate content, any kind of storyline behind a paywall. You can, anything in our game, including items in our cash shop, anything you can get if you put in time. If you don't have money, if you have money and you don't have time, we'll also take that. But because we have the in a exchange so that you can put in an in-game currency and get the currency that buys things from the cash shop. So I mean, really, you're losing money if you don't try the game out.
That makes sense. Well,
I didn't, by chance, grab a cider as my drink because it's hot, just for the record. It's not the things that happen.
I think most of us will agree that STO's got a pretty immensely good free-to-play model.
So, okay,
I like the idea of a
last thing.
free-to-play game.
Yeah, there we go.
Like,
Actually, I think the next question I can actually answer myself. Sir Boulevard asks, Maria, can we have an episode about the Caitians and Frisians fighting each other? And if I remember correctly, in one of the featured episodes, there is a Caitian and a Frisian actually arguing. And if you stand there and listen to them argue, it is absolutely hilarious.
I mean, let's be real, though. It just breaks down into a total cat fight. Yes, exactly.
It's absolutely hilarious. I think at one point the Frisian says something, go back and drink a saucer of milk from your Federation overlord or something to that effect. But yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the mission. Help me out here, people.
Okay.
I never noticed that myself, so that's interesting news to me. It's funny.
Might be surface tension.
Yeah, it was totally surface tension. I don't know if it was surface tension.
Yeah, it was surface tension. So yeah, go play surface tension, and in I think the beginning part where everyone's on the Dyson sphere, and there's all these delegates around or whatnot. Just go stand next to the Caitian and the Frisian and just listen to what they say to each other. It's quite long actually, but it's worth it. Absolutely hilarious.
That's great.
And while you're at it, finish up surface tension and get the counter command multi-conduit energy relay. Good console.
Coalition disruptor torpedo. Huh. Who knows? I bet you could. I don't know if you will.
No. There's already that type of torpedo in existence. It's called the resonant transphasic torpedo.
No. We
Yes.
need one that works like the anti-proton torpedo, but does coalition disruptor damage instead.
What do you care about?
Could we get some love for torps other than this AP nonsense, please? Because, and this is my big thing with it, the AP torp is not bad in and of itself that it's energy. It's what it represents. It represents, hey, look, we can fix torpedoes because it came in bugged and we fixed it big time. But you're not addressing all the other torps that have those same bugs. That was my big beef with it.
Tell us how you really feel, Odin. Don't hold back.
How I really feel. You do not want to know how I really feel. Because if I had to go full Cisco here, no one, and I mean no one, will survive the day.
You know, I haven't really watched anything with Cisco, but he strikes me as kind of a Janeway, or vice versa. And I mean that in the best of ways, because she's just like a I'm not taking shit from anyone kind of person. Oh, I mean, I'm not taking poop from anyone. Sorry, guys.
I'm gonna go turn into a salamander and have sex with Paris. Oh.
Okay, wait. Did you know that there is an action figure of that version of Tom Paris? And it comes with 3 little babies. It's an Emmy award-winning episode.
That is nightmare fuel.
Award-winning episode. And you know what? I have 2 versions of that action doll once I found out about it, because I had to take one out of the box so I could have the little babies on my desk. And then I have one that's still new in the box, of course. Basically, Gecko is so sad that I have that, because he thinks that I just like Star Trek for all the wrong reasons. But you know, they had those babies and then they left them behind. What is that about? How do you just do that? How do you be like, oh, I had babies. Yeah, I left them on a planet. No big deal. What? Where's the prime directive?
We already knew Paris was going to be a terrible parent anyway.
Yeah.
But Janeway had a dog. You would think she's good at raising, like, immature things that can't really, that just drool a lot.
Chakotay, you need to beam the salamander babies on the ship. Chakotay.
Can we agree that episode where they were, like, playing house down on that planet was, like, the worst ever?
Worst sexual tension ever.
No, just the worst. I wanted to vomit.
It was that, yeah,
it was so, like, let's appeal to the feminine audience.
You've got to repopulate the species.
Hey.
Oh boy.
But you have to admit, though, Kate did make that show better than what it could have been.
She did. The writers.
Oh, I think
the writers are the consistent part of that show.
I think if you watch that whole series in a couple of months, it actually, your overall feeling with it is probably that it was pretty good. And I didn't understand why people didn't like it. And then I imagine that I'm trying to watch this with 1 episode a week. I don't know how people got to the 2nd season.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, because it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's the writers, just, yeah.
I don't even know that it was the writers. It's just really tough to...
Well, it was the writing.
One of the complaints about Voyager is that Janeway was portrayed pretty inconsistently, which I can see, and that's on the writers.
Well, it is, and I think it was also them trying to find the character, right? And so a lot of the times, if you ask novel writers, they will write, and they'll get to like the middle of the book, and they'll realize they've finally found the character, and it's not the one that they thought they had, and they'll have to go back to the beginning and kind of rewrite all that stuff, or even just scrap the whole thing. Either that, or they force their character to just finish what they started, right? Like, I felt like Harry Potter was kind of that way. I still haven't read the last book. I know, shame on me. But Harry Potter was basically the same character in the first book at age 11 as he was in the 6th book at age, presumably, I don't know, 6 years later, 17. And like, that's unlikely. I mean, an 11-year-old versus a 17-year-old, they are really, 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 really different. But you couldn't do that because she had a place that the story was going to end, and she knew already. And I think that is kind of where they weren't doing with Janeway. They weren't forcing her into this mold. They were kind of letting the character evolve and kind of take form, and she mostly did that. I think after that horrible playing house with Chakotay, episode, they like chilled the F out because it was ridiculous, and they recognized it. But anyway.
Well, speaking about characterization like that, do you watch Doctor Who?
No.
Okay.
Get out.
Come on, I'm not a
This is
nerd.
an STO podcast. Don't be bringing that shit in here.
Well, all right. So, no, the point I want to bring up here is that when they're recording the season for Doctor Who, they actually record the middle of the season first and the first and last episodes at the very end. And the reason they do that is because, as they record the season further and further along, the characters or the actors get to know the character better, or they get knowledge of the character better. So by the time they're recording, at the end of their recording, they're more into character. They become.
That makes sense. So that your first impression and your last impression is one of like solid. It'll be the more solid performance.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we can't do that in American TV because we have to do everything up to the last minute and not plan ahead, and we never do that with other forms of entertainment like video games.
Oh boy.
All right.
Boy.
Any final words we have here for Maria before we just decide to end the torture session and lock our way in a dungeon somewhere?
I do, yes.
Maria, and it's my dungeon, right? Because, yeah.
Yes, please.
Maria, thank you very much for coming and doing this show with us today. It's I think I can speak for everyone that it actually meant a lot for us for you to come on and take our questions and interrogation. And this is something that you know very well that we've been looking for a really long time. And now that we finally have an open line of communication and are able to start bringing you folk on and shoot the shit with you on here, it is really awesome. So thank you again for your help in the past and being here on the show with us tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I had lots of fun. Do I get to ask you guys questions now, though?
Yes.
Go for it. You know what?
This is no one-way interview, right?
Do it.
Okay. I have 2 questions, but it's for each of you. So that's like 10 questions, if I'm counting right. 12, 18, something like this questions. Number 1, okay? What is your all-time favorite episode of Star Trek, any series?
Far Beyond the Stars, Deep Space Nine. Because it's not a traditional Star Trek episode.
Wow, that's a loaded question. I'm going to have to go with Pale Moonlight.
Hmm?
Yeah, he took mine, and I was actually going to do the
Yeah.
monologue as a joke one of these days, and then have Zeph and Astro Zombie do some of the editing afterwards. But I'm actually going to do the monologue for that at the end.
I don't have a favorite.
Do you have a favorite series?
Is that the second question? Or
No, I'm asking him because he wouldn't answer the original.
Okay.
Do I have a favorite series? I think it might be a tie between Deep Space Nine and Voyager, although I really do. I'm a strange one. I do like Enterprise.
Me too.
So
It's a Canadian thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, come on. What? There's Trip's wrist nipple. How could you not love Enterprise?
I love Enterprise.
That episode changed how I felt about Enterprise.
and you
See,
got to remember, Enterprise did not have subtitle. It was just Enterprise.
It's true. It wasn't Star Trek, but it didn't have a subtitle. I mean, it didn't have Star Trek in the name, you know.
Mhm.
Also, it wasn't Star Trek because that show could bite it. Stealing my TOS thunder. Okay, anyway, that's not everyone. More favorite episodes? Other people?
So B.
Ooh, Pale Moonlight's good. I can't remember the exact name. But I did somewhat like that Enterprise episode where they, are back in time fighting the Nicole.
Oh yeah. With in World War II.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait! I want to change my answer. There is one episode of DS9 that I absolutely love, and it's the one where they go back in time to the Tribble episode.
Trials and
Oh,
Tribulations.
yeah.
Yeah,
Not that I know the names of any episodes, because only a nerd would do that.
Hmm.
yeah.
Mhm.
I actually I really like that episode. That's one of my favorites. I still don't have a favorite, but that's one of them.
Mhm.
And what's your second question?
What got you into podcasting?
I'll let them answer first.
Oh geez.
I'm really new at it, in fact, newer than everyone else. I think everyone's got maybe not some established history of podcasting, but they've got their own video channels and things like that. I don't have any of that. When I heard that Velgon, if you guys remember him, was leaving the show, and Velgon is a good friend of mine. He and I have talked builds for a long time, and I sort of, when I heard he was leaving, I sort of asked, well, does the show want another build guy-ish? That's sort of what I am, and so I volunteered.
We twisted his arm and he said yes, and in exchange for that, we actually get a lot of STO leniency over on Reddit.
Yeah,
No,
I
we
think,
don't. We're just making that up.
I mean, plus that Velgon guy wasn't very good in the end. I mean,
Oh, do not mess with my chief engineer.
come on, where is he now? He's kind of a has-been.
No, the
Nice
pack
guy,
got
but
him.
he's
the
just
last
not
I
in the
heard
game
he-
anymore.
Last I heard, he went off to school.
Well, I mean, nice guy, but I have to.
Seems like he's learning a lot where he is. I can say that.
Yeah,
He is.
doubtful. But he's just with a bunch of idiots.
No, but every once in a while the Packlets do catch him.
I have to say, unbeknownst to many of you, because I play, if I'm playing STO, it's really not as at Xerneas Rex, because then I don't get to play. But my alt character, the first person who ever really took me under their wing and let me go along and kind of face roll through any kind of cues, was our very own Sarcasm Detector. So, I owe you, man.
It's true. I didn't know who she was at the time.
No, nobody did. Because I'm so good at keeping secrets. Actually, I
we know.
am. Because
We
think
know.
about it. TOS is my favorite, and I didn't spoil this crap once.
Yeah, absolutely no spoilers tonight. I am really disappointed and proud
As
of
soon
you
as
at
the
same
announcement
time.
came out, I was actually really surprised that you were able to keep it under your hat. I'm just yeah.
Maybe
I mean,
that's
we
why
could
I
say
wasn't around so
something.
much.
Yeah, but we could say something about what we saw on Tribble, but kind of, sort of.
I think you're better off not. Because
Yeah,
no
I
spoilers,
know.
right? You don't want people to be spoiled ahead of.
True. Anyway,
it
that's
for
not the
themselves.
question. Let's go back over here to
Yes.
this.
What got you to podcasting?
Yeah, SOB, your turn.
It gave me a method to inform people that torpedoes are bad. Right, Odin?
You see what I got to work with? You
Yeah.
see what I have to work with.
It's a nice route to give people information that a lot of people miss out on.
I see you spent dill to make that neutronic torpedo gold.
It wasn't that expensive.
All right, this is a fairly complicated answer. So I've been doing videos for a long time, even before I started playing STO. Usually they were just kind of action videos, put some music, some rocking music, whatever, action. And I actually did some kind of Borderlands 2 videos where I showed different mechanics and how to not particularly exploit, but get around certain different things and like results of nerfs and stuff like that. When I got to STO, I was back to doing the action videos with the music and just showing stuff off. And I actually spent a lot of time on different TeamSpeaks and actually writing guides for the wiki, for example, our STO builds wiki, and just giving a lot of this information out. And it was a lot of repetition. It was information that was taught to me, and stuff that I've tested out and learned for myself, and passing that along, and kind of moved on to doing ship reviews, just sharing the information that I had. And the idea behind this podcast was to condense a lot of that into one location. So I'm no longer spending a lot of time on TeamSpeak, spending hours, and it was literally hours, going one-on-one with people, just passing information on and just repeating myself on good techniques and different mechanics and whatnot. Even the written guides was an attempt at that. So yeah, Odin brought this particular podcast out the show, and I jumped on it because really I have become burnt out on passing information about, and the guys here all know this, that usually when someone these days comes up to me and says, hey, can you give me some build advice, my answer now is no. Go ask someone else. There's a lot of people that I have passed this information to, and they've become really good experts. I would prefer that you go ahead and ask them. In some regards, it's like the white belt in the dojo doesn't go talk to the Grand Master 10th degree black belt for advice. He'll go talk to the brown belts and the black belts before going there. And I'll as the Grand Master, I will give some advice to the black belts. And so just to avoid having to repeat myself and extending that burnout, this show is actually a really good format for discussing technical things and just, having general discussions about the game and other things, without me having to repeat myself too often. Hopefully that's an answer that's good enough.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool.
Zeph.
I was drunk.
When are you not, you Canadian slush?
I honestly don't know why I decided to. I really don't know why.
I mean, that's a good answer, or valid answer, if it's not a good answer.
What, drunk, or I don't know?
Both.
I really don't know. Odin's gonna say something that try and counter my point, but I don't have a lot to offer in terms of knowledge of like build wise, like DPS, min max, and all that stuff. But I still like to try and like take what I learn and then try and help the community with that. And that's why I started doing the demo record how-to videos, because there's a lot of people coming to me and PMing me being like, hey, how the hell do you do demo record and all this stuff? I'm like, well, that's here. I'm like, all right, I'll just do a how-to video so people can see and get a taste of what it's like to actually do the stuff. And so I don't know. I guess I have a point of view of the game that's kind of like from the general player, and I don't know. I just asked Odin one day. I'm like, hey, do you want help on the show? And he's like, yeah, I do. Sure. Okay. And then I was here.
And the rest was history.
Yeah, it's actually, I think I joined the show in either July or August, so it's creeping up on a year with the show now.
None of that is true.
My first time here was as a guest, actually, when I did the Iconian trailer.
None of that is true. He actually just wandered in one day, and we didn't notice till like months later, and then it was too late.
Well, but surely he would have said sorry at least once.
No, he said sorry 100 times, even when it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, something that Zeph here won't say, because this guy is, if anybody's more humble than I am, this is a guy by leaps and bounds. This man has his work featured on several different MMO publications, big ones. He has some of his material used in different footage. Trek Yards has a couple of his shots over there, which, by the way, yo, Trek Yards, we still got your back. We'll call you. We'll set everything else up. By the way, Zeph, we need to start working on a couple of things for them as well. You see, he's just that popular because his work that he does is so good and it gets people into the game. And we brought him in on the show not just as another aspect of, look, how is this message reaching the people that we want it to reach, where you can still have fun. You don't need to be a min-maxer, but you can definitely improve your game and still have fun. And what Zeph has done, taking from like sub-double digits up to about what did he hit, 75, 80 at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it shows that anybody can do it. Anybody. It doesn't matter whether you're an RP fleet, whether you're the quote-unquote super casual like SOB and myself, whether you're a hardcore maniac like frickin' Mikey here and Sarcasm Detector. Doesn't matter. You know, we'll give you the tools and the information. All you need to do is just do it. And it can be done. And everybody can do it. Everybody can do it. And he was one of those shining examples, aside from his stellar work in making what we classify as shit porn. And oh my gosh, this game is gorgeous, and the capabilities of the engine is there, and he just polishes it up and said, look, folks, to the point where people said, all right, I'm sold just by watching his video. I'm sold. I bought the command ships. Boom. So we can actually attribute people to signing up into this game and spending real-life money directly to Zeph Films.
Well, he is a talented man at those videos.
And he's also inspired some of my videos. I know he inspired Snipey, another former host of the show here, and other people. I mean, I learned quite a bit from him, and even he's done some one-on-one sessions with me where he's actually like used TeamViewer to log into my computer and say, hey, you know, Alan, I need to be able to do this and that and whatever. And he's like, yeah, you have to do this. And so he's helped me out a lot, and I'm sure he's helped out a lot of other people.
I feel like we should all just hug now.
Big group hug.
How about we just get drunk instead?
No. Hugging.
I mean, we could do both.
I like that. I think this is historically the longest episode of the show, too.
Okay, well then I'm going. I'm done with you jerks.
No.
Whoa. Don't make me bring out the angry New Yorker, girl.
Oh.
East Coast versus West Coast battle. Let's go.
No, we haven't been broadcasting, so we got to start from the top. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I think I have an advantage over almost all of you.
Oh, yeah? I'm a night owl.
We can go all night long. Don't worry. We can go all night long.
Except I have 3 hours on you.
So?
Yeah,
that's true.
You start at 9 a.m., right?
No, I start kind of when I show up.
Oh, see, yeah, I start at 9 a.m. your time.
Usually 10 a.m.
Oh boy.
Right around there.
So now, if we're gonna hug, do I have to put my pants back on?
No.
Good.
Just don't put your cigarette
Oh,
on.
I knew this joke was coming somewhere. Oh boy. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much, Erroneous, for showing up here.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. We'll obviously try and squeeze you back in here sometime whenever our schedule opens up.
Squeezer.
Jesus Christ.
No. But seriously, when your schedule opens up, we appreciate you taking the time out for us here, and especially, literally setting the record on the longest show ever, but for good reason, because, damn, we had a whole bunch of fun. And we said, yeah, we can ignore some of this stuff over here. Let's keep going. And the audience loved it. They're still hanging around here.
Yeah.
So.
There's still 37 people watching right now. Just because we got interviewed. What the hell? Wow, I feel so popular, famous.
Adding the number.
Oh, yes. So from everybody here and from Cryptic Studios, we'll say good night to you folks. And for those of you who can't sleep, we'll see you in game. Peace, folks.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.